Hello and welcome to Raise Brain Podcast. My name is Rich Ryan, joined today Bracken Crocker, and back is Jack Bauer. Jack, did you listen to last week's episode?
Yeah, I actually did, even though I'm not a shoe guy.
How much did you get through?
100% of it. That's how
you
much
listened
of a
to the whole
to my it's my show, even if I'm not there. Come on, I gotta represent Race Brain. Yeah. At the end, when you guys were like, "Oh yeah, well, have you heard of topos?" Or when you guys were making fun of me, I got many messages from people who were like, "Topos are awesome."
I stood up for topo.
Yeah. Do you want to know who wears Ultras? Another shoe that you made fun of, Chris Rogloski, when she won.
Yeah, and I made fun of Chris.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying there are a couple models out there that are pretty decent. But I
call her a model.
Come on. I did not.
Paraphrasing. I got some people like that. Those Ultra, what are they called? The super shoes that they have.
Vanish.
I had a pair of the OG Vanish, which were more like a cross country.
A Vanish XC or whatever.
Do they exist anymore?
Vanish R, is that what these are?
Vanish R. These are Vanish Carbon and Vanish Tempo.
They made a Vanish XC with basically what I had with a spike plate in it. There was like nothing to those.
Mesh.
Yeah.
Jordan Buscemi ran OCR in those for like a year.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah.
But I had some good feedback on the newer. I've heard mixed things on the newer Ultra.
It's one or the other.
Yeah.
Half the people are like, bad heel lockdown, no transition, they fall apart ASAP, and the other half are like, it's the best transition I've ever had in an Ultra, which is fair. It's an Ultra, like there is no transition. So if you got any,
Jack, maybe that should be your Ultra shoe.
All right, boys, you guys had 2 hours.
We're back.
We're talking something.
We're a shoe show now.
I'm cutting this off.
Yeah. We're a shoe show now.
You left the door open, Jack.
I know.
Whatever comes through is on you.
Putting the foot down at this point.
You guys didn't listen.
Yeah.
What do you have on that foot?
What do I have
on Ultra? What do you have on that foot that you're putting down?
Me? It doesn't matter. We're talking something else today.
All natural, just bare.
Just bare. I wear Vibrams.
Nothing but hair and callus.
Yeah.
You know our guys got slippers though.
I actually don't.
You have a house mocks?
No, Audrey does. She has these things called that I call them feeties because they're basically like super warm slippers that go. They're kind of like halfway up your calf type of thing, and they're just super warm. So if your wives have cold feet, get those. TJ Maxx, like $5-6.
I'm a big slipper guy myself. House shoes,
really?
Put them right on. Absolutely, got some fresh ones this year, and they're amazing. LL Bean ones.
Yeah,
I try to travel with them too. Makes me feel like I'm at home. It's great.
Wow. Do you have like a smoking cigar and a monocle also? Like
I'm gonna sit there and build a ship in a bottle. And all right, today again, no real stuff going on. We have some. I think there is a Hyrox happening this weekend. Is Birmingham this weekend?
Next?
It might be.
There was one in January. That's all I know.
There is one in January. And what is going to be most interesting about that, not the doubles record attempt.
It might be this weekend.
It is. Maastricht is this weekend. Okay. Okay.
Is this the one Hunter's going for?
I think he's doing.
JK's doing it too, right?
JK.
Yeah, I think JK and Graham will go against Hunter and Sandy in doubles. This is gonna be the first time we're doing pro doubles. So
since Worlds, because Colin and Taylor.
Worlds.
Yeah.
So they can stop chasing ours.
Cycling through the partners.
Yep, it's gonna see who can hang around.
How good does it make you feel that he couldn't get it, and you guys are basically gonna just go down in history?
That's great news. This
must be like someone in high school when it's like, yeah, I'm still the 880-yard record holder at my school. It's like, well, they don't run it anymore, so no one's ever gonna beat it.
Retired record for sure, like the mile, the full mile.
Yeah, we have the 4-man triple jump relay, which they don't do anymore. Only 3-man.
Yeah,
only 3-man.
We had a conference relay meet in high school, and they did it for everything.
That's kind of cool. That's kind of cool to have a relay conference meet. That'd be sweet.
It was a ton of fun.
Like a Penn relays, but
4 by mile, DMR, sprint.
We had the same thing. We had the Crusader relays. That was so fun. That was my first and only time doing DMR, and I did the 1200 leg.
All 10 of the high schools in the state get together.
Although it's painful watching the freshman or JV boys and girls 4 by mile.
Oh my God, that's where they gotta draw the line there. We can't be sitting here for 30 minutes.
No.
So another point of interest. So that's going to be a good fun race. That doubles, pro doubles attempt, and fun to see how that kind of plays out. The current doubles record is slower than Hunter's individual record, so we would imagine that would be broken. But they're supposed to roll out new equipment. That's something that is that they've made an announcement for. I have not really followed up, and I don't know if they would give us any notice on that. Jack has decided he's good.
Sick of it.
He's out of here.
I'm out. I can still hear you.
And so that's one thing that'll be interesting. Like, what is it? Is this equipment? It's obviously going to change, but is it going to be drastic? Is it going to matter that much at all? Is it going to change?
In theory, it could not change at all other than visually.
Yeah, ideally, right?
Because what's the only thing that should, like, in reality, have a chance of changing is the sled runner. Stack height of the sled, pull height of the sled, disperse, like length, width, that kind of thing. 3-prong versus 2, like that could change. But if they just copy it, it could be the same.
It should be the same. I mean, that's why. I mean, I'd imagine that's why they're doing it, just because they think that it won't matter. But it definitely could, in either direction. Right.
Let's be honest.
Off judgment until we see results. That's what I've learned with Hyrox. It's like I'm just not going to prejudge courses anymore.
They're doing it because someone's paying them to do it.
Oh yeah, it's not for the sport.
For sure. I know. Yeah.
So it can change everything, and they'll be like, "Yeah, it's for the best."
That Thor money comes through.
Yeah.
Is he going to be there for the hard launch?
Oh man, because he's Australian.
Mm-hmm.
Will he be the most famous? Actually, Matt Fraser has been to Hyrox.
I'm guessing Thor is more famous than Matt Fraser.
Matt Fraser's not more, maybe among our crew, but yeah, I agree. Thor's got a little more worldwide notoriety.
If you had to choose one group of people to piss off with your statement right there and hate you, would it be the CrossFit community or like the Comic-Con community?
I'm not worried about them.
The CrossFitters are prickly, so probably them.
They're prickly, but MCU are diehard.
They're nasty. Don't forget, I play board games almost every weekend with the big crew of people. So I know some people who are
go do some research on.
Okay, Jack. Lisa went to school with the son of the guy who invented Dungeons and Dragons.
I'm definitely gonna tell some people because I'm starting Pandemic Legacy tonight.
Yeah.
I'm sure at least one person listening to this show will know what that is.
But he only made like 400,000 off of it because
they sell so much stuff at stores.
There is some shenanigans on the back end of him and his business partner. Yeah, poor business dealings.
Is this like the Andy Weigman or whatever, Joe DeSena type of thing? Where
but on a smaller scale.
Yeah.
I hope that, just to come back to Thor real quick, I hope he's at Vienna and I see him and be like, today's the day Thor learns my name.
Yeah. Just like Bracken.
You're going to know after today.
You're going to learn today.
Can you just imagine the unreasonable arrogance that someone could have to say that about Matt Fraser?
That seems, I don't know.
You think he ever thinks about Hyrox 2019? You think he's like, man, who was that guy? I forget his name. Like, no.
The only good news is I said it internally. I didn't say it out loud. I didn't.
You've said it out loud.
Yeah. You're gonna know after today.
Go shake
Remember
his hand.
This face.
I'm not telling you my name now. You'll learn it later.
Yeah.
And a little bit of news that I learned is that Vienna is going to be on Friday, the Open European Championship. What the? Am I still here? What happened?
Yes. You're here.
Huh.
Bracken is coming for you soon. Happened to me, happened to Rich.
The Open European Championship in Vienna is on Friday. We learned this like 2 days ago. So that could be also something for DC that happens to the elite race. Is going to be moved up.
Oh, you're saying the Elite 15.
We got to switch the terminology.
On Friday?
Yes.
European
that's my fault.
Yeah.
The Hyrox Open European Elite 15 Championship.
Thank you. It's like the Adidas Adizero Adios Pro Evo 1.
Evo.
What happened if you bought a flight already, assuming it was going to be on Saturday? That sucks.
This
is way too close. It's January 16th.
My flight's been booked for weeks. And
now you've got minus 1 day compared to what you thought you did.
And I'm okay. I'm actually fine with that. But if I was booking for DC, usually a domestic race, I'd show up on the day before.
Of course. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know if DC is going to be. I did try to ask and follow up. they're just like, we don't know. So I would
What do you
plan
mean
to
we
get
don't
there.
know?
I would plan to get there on Thursday for any of the Elite 15 athletes who may be listening now. We could have that race in Chicago also on Friday evening. So just plan to be there Thursday, which sucks because you got to put another hotel night if it is Saturday, but whatever. Just some housekeeping on that end.
Always something.
Always something. Always something. So again, we don't really have anything to talk about in terms of the results. We have a gimmick we're going to run out today that is hypotheticals around what potentially could have happened, what will happen.
It's just a what if episode.
What if episode?
Everything. Hybrid,
hypothetical
OCR, athletes.
So we're going to go around. We're going to talk about what ifs, and we're going to just kick it around. Jack, you have an unlimited amount of what ifs.
Unlimited. Yep.
Why don't you start us off?
Yeah.
I was hoping for wheel and names.
You want some wheel names?
Yeah.
No,
we have
Jack
to.
should start.
I'm willing to do the
10
wheel
times the amount we have.
All right. We're going to just come up with these, and we don't need to spend 10 minutes on each one. I've got plenty of ideas.
You think
if you
20?
just want to move on to the next.
20, definitely.
Yeah, use it just like shoes. What if hybrid and OCR debuted at the same time?
Ooh.
I would never have rolled in the mud. I would never have done a single monkey bar, and my fitness would be really good.
Because you were doing CrossFit in like 2009 and 10 and stuff, right?
I thought OCR was going to be what hybrid is. Like, oh, this is a way to have strength and endurance blended together. OCR has a bit of that. You can't go in with an absence of strength. But you don't need to be that strong.
Functional strength, not raw strength.
In your opinion, how many minutes per week would a runner have to dedicate to strength or obstacles in order to become proficient on most courses? Not like OCR Worlds, not like nasty, but just like a standard Spartan series event.
2024 level versus or 2015.
Right now.
Like
30.
a guy, like a kid coming out of college.
College nationals qualifier.
Doesn't
wants
really
to come make a splash.
Doesn't really lift, but like kind of athletic. I'd say 30 minutes, 2 times 15. That's about it. Mostly grip.
I'd probably do a little bit more than that. I would probably add the grip for sure. Maybe 10 minutes of grip 3 times a week. And then maybe something to help improve some skeletal muscle. Maybe some sort of squat, deadlifts, something to put a little. And those type of athletes can put muscle on pretty quick, just newbie gains. Just give them a little bit of something. I would probably say closer to 90 minutes a week.
Yeah. Okay. I was going to say 60 to 90 and you're a player. And Hyrox, what's the bare minimum for same scenario? 60 to 90 weeks.
If someone come from the same scenario, like
same
scenario, kid without any.
Yep.
You take a 1,500 college runner and want to make them a beast at Hyrox, that's taking over a year.
A year minimum?
Yeah.
So I think the answer to that is that OCR was the option, but it never was going to marry the strength and the endurance. There's no potential for it. Hybrid does. But if they came out at the same time, I believe hybrid Hyrox would not be as popular.
Really?
I think that, I think that they have a huge amount of their, maybe not as big of a chunk as I think for the open waves, but also of the elite field that came from OCR. And there were people who were already kind of actualized as an endurance engine, but really were craving something to do bigger and heavier. Or if it just came out at the same time, I don't know if they would have had like that power vacuum that happened. They came out when Spartan was struggling and people were looking. Like Kent was ready. Hunter was ready. Rich was ready. All these people were ready for something new. I don't know what would have happened early on.
And don't forget about the timing that Hyrox or CrossFit really had its boom. It was like 2011, 12. Really? That's about the same time they could have cannibalized each other. And it could have been a scenario like in OCR where the brand just doesn't exist anymore. And they spent too much money trying to beat the other and then only one survived. Like I could see that happening.
I think there's a fundamental difference between the people who participate in the two sports, and definitely the people who participate in the masses for it. The people that who are driven toward hybrid, like like kind of like the hard numbers, like it to be quantified, like to get into the gym and like to be pretty precise around it. Where the obstacle racers are more experiential. They are out there just try to push themselves as hard as possible. They share that the ability to train hard and to race hard, that is the same. But what they're looking for in the outcome, I think, is different. And what they're looking for in repeat races is also different. I don't know. Does it even change how it is now? Like, are there some people that will cross over, and will the other people be like, no, I'm just Hyrox, no, I'm just OCR? Because the health of both seems to be okay. At the elite level, it might be different.
Those are all fair and valid points.
Yeah. I don't know. My thought is a lot of people do not have a gym membership and they typically just go and run. A lot of people still, trail running has been popular or has increased in popularity, especially over like the past 5 or so years. I think you would have plenty of people stay doing OCR. And let's not forget, it became popular because of the pictures and the jumping over the fire and carrying heavy stuff. Like, I think that looks cooler than, hey, I'm pushing a sled and it has less weight on it because I'm not doing the pro division. Like, I don't know. I feel like OCR may have come out ahead slightly.
That's interesting that you think that the visuals from like a
It mattered in
grassroots
the growth.
marketing is better for OCR.
I think it is. Yeah, I think the people look fitter, and obviously if you think of CrossFit, most people instantly think of like Tia Claire Toomey with abs popping out or Noah Olson and stuff. Like, that's the look, but most people don't actually look like that or do CrossFit. And I think that OCR, the average person can have a cool shot jumping over fire, and that kind of stuff really helped for the growth of it with, what was it, guerrilla marketing or whatever you said.
Like grassroots stuff.
I think it's interesting who they target in their ads, because the Hyrox advertisements that you see and their website pictures are people broken or breaking. It's like at the end, bent over, gasping, people saying it was the hardest thing I've ever done. Spartan Race, their ads online are a large-chested woman crawling through barbed wire, smiling at the camera, or people with their arm around each other, covered in mud, like going like this.
The new marketing, right? That's what it is.
Yeah, but
now.
even back in the day, like from the
that.
beginning, that's what it is. Spartan is like, anyone can come and do this, and if you don't want to compete, bring your friends. It's going to be a blast. And Hyrox is like, you're going to learn today.
Yeah,
yeah.
You almost have
wheelchairs ready for you.
Yeah,
yeah. So maybe they wouldn't have cannibalized each other. I don't know, but I've been on that big kick of watching all the old Spartan races again, and Kent would have had to choose when he was in his prime. Hunter would have had to choose in his prime.
Corinna, yeah.
And outside of that, there are none. Like, it wouldn't have changed the National Series story. And so maybe I was wrong in my first statement that it wouldn't have been as big, because maybe they always, the bros who were doing this OCR would have left OCR for Hyrox at any time.
Right. Like, you don't think Hobie, Cody, like they're
what
not.
What
like
about
Alex
Amelia
Nicholas
early
and
on?
Joey Petrolio would have?
Yeah,
right away.
Definitely. What about Amelia Boone, who used to train using CrossFit, to get her in shape, and her longest run was something like a marathon before she did 90 miles for the first time at World's Toughest Mudder. She already kind of was in that CrossFit element. That could have changed the history, especially on the women's side. Like, she's still thought of among modern racers or fans of the sport. Like, name 3 or 4 women in the sport, and people still mention her, even though she hasn't really been relevant for 5 years in OCR.
Becca Hammond, kind of we might lose her. We might never see her in OCR, but
maybe Faye.
Alyssa Hawley, maybe.
I do think you at the top of the sport, you would have had a decent amount who were like Rylan, just dipping their toes in both of it, though. So Rebecca Hammond probably would have realized, hey, I'm pretty good at this OCR thing, and I'm also good at this hybrid. She could have been, the modern day Rylan or the original Rylan.
Except she had both options and still chose neither.
Yeah,
good point.
I don't know what she's doing today, but she missed out. Doctor
stuck with her medical career.
Yeah,
time will tell.
Harvard and stuff. Yeah,
time will tell that decision. Yeah,
have fun making 6 figures a year, chump.
Yeah, and there's just one more tie-in on this. What if TMX never disappeared? Given how
I think it was
a lot more people are prepared for that style of racing right now than they were for 2 or 3 races in 2017 and 18.
I don't think it was scalable like TMX. I mean, like Hyrox, even like Deka. I think TMX was made to be a once or twice a year entity. I don't think there could have been ever anything other than a showpiece.
Okay,
event.
what if it debuted today? I just want to like you have the athletes
Same
ready
thing.
for it, as opposed to, you think Hunter still would have won by a minute, and the only people who were close to him would have been CrossFitters? You don't think a guy
Results?
like Rich? Or...
Oh, I thought you meant about his popularity. I think
no,
it would
no,
have
no.
been exact
Results,
same.
results.
I think Rich and Rylan could go Kent smash and go with Hunter. Yeah, I think it
a
would
little
have
bit
been
more
closer.
than back then, but yeah, dude designed the race.
Yeah,
that helps.
Yeah. That's an interesting thought experiment on that though, Jack, because that was kind of the OG. That's almost what the Alpha Warrior race was like, a little bit a longer version of TMX because
strength with some cool obstacles,
strength and obstacles,
visually pleasing.
Yeah. And that, so I guess we'll see, because I believe that they are going to try to do more events this year and for mass participation.
That'd be cool.
Yeah. But what would happen with that? I think
everyone would do it.
I agree. Yeah.
Would it be Goofy Games? Would it get the same type of participation as Goofy Games, though?
I don't think it's. I think you know where you're getting yourself into. You're like some actual decent strength, and with sandbags and stuff, and overhead slosh pipe lunges. Like there are some pretty, challenging movements in there. And then they chose some of the more notable obstacles in Tough Mudder, as opposed to just doing a wall or something like that. It was a good blend for a 1 mile course.
Which,
no doubt,
I'm gonna be probably kicked out of the community for saying this.
Nice.
Which made it Goofy Games for me. I think it's a bad combination, because I don't see any need to combine rep-based stations with weight in actual technical tasks. And I would consider an overhead walking lunge with a slosh pipe a technical task. Like, if you haven't practiced that, you cannot really figure that out 3/4 of the way through a race under duress.
It'll be ugly.
Combined with like
people.
Funky Monkey and things. Like, I don't see a need to combine OCR and hybrid. I don't. Hybrid's already hybrid enough. I think at this point it's almost Goofy Games in a 1 mile format. It's like throw it all together, and it did the most egregious mistake that any fitness race can make, in my opinion, which is spend over 10% of the race doing one single task. And it did that.
Which was what?
Slosh pipe for a lot of people.
Oh,
or those sandbag cleans at the end.
Or the sandbag cleans.
Virginia.
Yeah.
And people just
Or
sitting there
thrusters,
looking at it
yeah.
should never occur in a race, unless you don't belong there.
That would not happen these days. I feel like people are so much more prepared for movements like that. Because I remember I did it, and I'm not at the top of the sport, but like I do reasonably well. And I was like, this is awesome. And that I changed my training that year basically to go after TMX, assuming it was going to be, happening. And then it disappeared after 2018.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that a lot of people would have been in my shoes. Like, I like this kind of stuff. And it may have led me into going into hybrid. And then we just happened to have Hyrox come to the US the year later. And then Deka, I knew that was in the works. Like, maybe it was perfect storm for that. But I think you would have had a lot of people make that transition.
Yeah. And I think it would have had a huge turnout. I just consider it Goofy Games. And it's maybe I'm just like too much of a stickler on my own definition, but I can't tell you what TMX tested, because it was testing OCR right up until the point it turned into a CrossFit endurance workout.
Yeah. It's like you could have a 2-minute lead heading into the sandbag thrusters. Now you're screwed. If
you have sandbag thrusters and slosh pipe walking lunges, I don't need to know how good you are on monkey bars. Like, it's non sequitur. It has no bearing to me. So I know there's going to be a lot of people that disagree with me on this, and that's fine, because it's just an opinion. It's not like I'm stating a fact. But TMX is Goofy Games to me, but it doesn't change the fact that Goofy Games are pretty awesome.
It was like OG, and it was before we knew that was a thing. And at the time,
you hadn't invented the term yet.
Correct. So we couldn't coin it there. But yeah, I can see that, because I don't know, like, how much would obstacles play into people's definition of fitness? Or
you saw, like, if you look at average people, even pretty fit people, a lot of them can't do monkey bars easily, and a lot, like, they're not ready to do movements that we kind of take for granted. Even getting over a wall, they might be 3-4 seconds slower. Like, obstacles do matter to the average person.
Mhm.
They'll do obstacle stuff, mostly just like monkey bars. They did at Rogue Invitational. They'll do some stuff at CrossFit
Cargo
Games.
net flip.
Yeah, mostly like the military obstacle style.
Rope climb.
I think O-Core stuff is fine. That's functional fitness based. Whether you've done a vertical cargo or not, you're going to figure out your way over it.
But
I don't
like
care to see
Kong.
you doing a rig.
Right,
Like,
right. Savage rig. Right.
It's cool. It was fun. It was fun to watch. I was glued to my screen with the coverage that we had, but it's Goofy Games.
Yeah, like I don't know if I would participate in it the way that I did then the first year. I was so excited about it. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. This is what I've been waiting for. If it came out now or at the same time as Deka or Hyrox, I'd be like, I'm doing this other thing. This other thing is more what I want anyway. Like, this
maybe
is
if they threw enough money at you, you'd dip your toe in the ring, but it wouldn't be a focus.
It would be like Goofy Games. Yeah, I'd be like, I'll do this if it's not in the
You got a free pair of Merrills.
I did not get a free pair of Merrills.
Oh, you didn't?
Or maybe I did.
Was that season 2?
Did you get a pair of Merrills, Jack?
No, I got a wad rod or something like that to scrape up your calluses and like 2 or 3 other just gimmicky things.
Maybe I did get a pair of Merrills. I had 2 or 3. I bought one pair of Merrills and I had another pair of Merrills. That I wore those like crazy.
All Out Crush were a really solid lightweight trail shoe.
I went all the way down. Like the
all right, no shoes, guys.
Vapor.
That's never a rule we have agreed to.
No. Yeah.
Yeah,
no.
You had a full week. I know where this is going.
Trail glove.
Trail glove.
That was like basically that was as minimal Jack. That's more minimal than Topo.
Damn. I never wore
No
it.
tread.
No tread, nothing. I was just out there. Basically, they're Vibrams
right,
with covered toes.
That's right. To bring it full circle, I took second place in the Cheyenne Mountain Half Marathon my first week out, or second in Colorado when I first moved out there.
It is easy.
To a guy in Merrill trail gloves.
That's
and I went right to the store. I'm like,
right
is
there.
this what you wear out here? I tried them on and I'm like, nope.
No,
this is not what I wear
they're
out here.
so minimal. They're so minimal.
He would have beat me by more if he had real shoes.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Either of you guys have a topic?
I got one. It's tangential. Can I go?
Oh, yeah. Tangential. I like tangents.
Okay. So this is something we kind of talked about this past week. What if an athlete like Agnes Nugget trained for Deka for 12 months?
Yeah.
So this woman just ran 28:46 for 10K on the road, which is back to back 14:23 5Ks.
She went 14:13 to tie the 5K record in the first half.
That's averaging 4 minutes and 38 seconds per mile
for 6.2 miles.
To put in perspective, the fastest people we've ever had do more than one OCR event were 13:50 5K guys. We've had Woods run 13:50. We've had Max King run 14 flat.
Yeah,
I have an article with that, but go on.
Anyway, that's
flex.
So she's within 15 seconds in a 10K split of the fastest male 5K we've had consistently. Like Hobie ran 14:0. I believe that Cody ran 14:0. These are the people that she would beat in a 5K.
Oh,
just to put in perspective.
She beat everybody. Every current athlete participating. Yeah, I guess like maybe.
So the fastest
maybe Woods beats her in.
Yeah, so I've got 13:50.1 is Woods. He has the fastest 5K PR of anybody who's done multiple. Mohamed Mira, who got banned, so I don't really want to count him, but he had a 28:17. He won the 2019 Middle East Regional Championship.
Oh wow.
29:01 was Max King. Hobie went 29:41. Batras 29:25, and Ryan Woods 30:04. So she's noticeably faster than the fastest people we've ever had in this sport.
And just because I'm pedantic, to be fair to those guys, they never were 10K runners. Like all of their 5Ks were faster in comparison to their 10K, and like Max's steeplechase was faster, much faster in comparison.
If you use like
Woods
IAF
13:50
tables,
to 30:04 is not equivalent.
Yeah, he probably did it once, but he should have been
like at conference
right at 29 flat, maybe a little
Right.
high
Yeah.
28s. Yeah.
But anyways, it's crazy fast. Crazy fast.
And the second place woman also broke 29. The barrier that had never been broken previous to that, and you had two in the same race.
And road racing is funky for times, always. But she ran 14:13, and the women's 5K record is 14:13. Oh, it's 13 now?
She tied it in the first half for the road.
No. I'm saying on the
14,
track.
13. Oh, on the track.
On the track, it's 14
flat.
14 flat. Like she had to run in like lane 2 for part of it. And
Gide Gide was
Gide.
was 15:05 or 15:06, and then it got
14.
beaten. Yeah, 14:05, 14:06, and then it got beaten by the woman who set the 1500 and 5K last year, and then won world championships.
Oh, Kipyegon did.
But then I think G'day at the last Diamond League ran 14 flat.
Yeah, I thought so as well. That Faith had it, and then it was broken again. But anyway, 14
Either way,
flat.
he was
not
within,
here or there.
She's within 13 seconds of the 5K all outright world record en route to a 10K.
It's crazy.
So that's just some. Go ahead, Jack.
Would you put your money on her winning Deka Worlds for women? Is that basically what you're saying?
No.
12 months of training specifically for Deka. If we get an athlete like this, world-class athlete on the track or road, they join the RMR app for a year.
Well, then
What
definitely
happens? Then they're going crazy. Then it's over. Then it's lights out. But what's it look like?
I'll be a bit repetitive because I did answer this in the group chat,
That's what we're doing.
but I don't buy it. I don't think that, I mean, she'd obviously be very good, but from what I've seen at the top, the actual genetic makeup that is required to be truly world-class in any endeavor excludes you from being world-class in other endeavors generally. And simply because of frames, her ceiling and her floor are very close together. Like, she's always going to run well. You could probably teach her to row well. Ski, I don't see a lot of African women getting anything out of their arms and their stride. I don't know how much she'd ever be able to drive in a ski erg, and a salt bike would probably always crush her. And then just like because of her frame, we're talking like 5'3", 5'4".
I'm trying to find it. They don't list it on World
Don't
Athletics.
believe she's going to be able to generate like the mass needed to make a dead ball feel light.
She does.
So-
I mean, if she put on realistically in 1 year, 25 pounds. So then she's 5'3",
huge
125. But yeah, with some fat, right? Like, she's not just going to be put on 25 pounds of muscle. However, we don't drug test over here. So, you know, that could be something.
So to go back on that earlier, you guys said 60 to 90 minutes a week can make an average or a college
OCR.
All-American. Okay, OCR. Yeah, not hybrid.
OCR. Hybrid, I think it's 3 to 4 hours a week for a year.
Yeah. Coming from nothing.
Minimum.
She could with
if she turns into a 30 flat 10K runner,
But
man.
she wouldn't.
Yeah,
That's
you
the
don't think
thing.
so? You don't think so?
No.
You think it would just there's no middle ground there?
You
Like,
think she
once
turns into a
backs off, she just-
35? Even 35, that's one of the fastest women in the sport.
Yeah, I think she could run 32, 33, but we're talking going from 90 pounds to 125. You're gaining 25% of your body weight. Like, from a like
That'd be me being
scalability,
240
you
or
don't
something.
you don't lose 90 seconds there. You lose 90 seconds per 5K.
Yeah.
What if Rich Froning lost 80 pounds? Just kidding. Just kidding. Just kidding. Just kidding. Just kidding.
210.
And this is the last thing I'm going to say about it.
Yeah.
We have seen high level runners come into OCR, and they're really fast right up until they get fatigued from something. And then they're not any faster than anyone else is when they're fatigued. There's this universal leveling process that occurs under duress in hybrid and in OCR, that there's just like a limiter that people don't get past.
Everyone's recovery jog is about the same.
Yeah, I mean, Hobie's marathon pace when he came into the sport was 5:0, right? Or 5:11.
Yeah.
It was right
216
around
guy.
5:10. He was never really running faster than marathon pace on course.
Right.
there were times in short races where
That'd
he
be
would,
crazy.
but
510 would be
like,
crazy on course.
yeah, and he was running near that early on, but not for huge extended periods, only on flat, runnable, smooth terrain. And then we've had Max King come over, who was what, 836? Fact check me, Jack, in steeplechase, 836, 837.
No, I thought he was like 824. He was fast.
Oh, really? Back then?
We'll do some fact checking.
We'll do some fact checking.
Keep going. Keep going.
We had, I'm blanking on his name. He was
Anthony Famigletti.
David Torrance.
Oh,
David Torrance was a
Yeah,
350 miler. He was the U.S. champ in the 10K on the roads, and he was very fast until he was tired, and then he was very average, like average elite, good. So we've had all these people come over. We've had McDougall, we've had Ryan Woods, and while they might be faster than everyone, it's not like out of this world faster than everyone. So no one's running 440s, even if they're like, if someone's like a 440 lactate threshold runner, they're not comfortably running 520s under duress. Or they are running 520s, but so is Kempson. And we haven't seen people who are proportionally better when highly compromised.
It's a good show name.
And so I don't think that it would happen.
Yeah,
I think that you would get
830.5.
disproportionately. What was it?
830.5. We split the
Maybe
difference.
I was thinking what he ran at the Olympic trials.
Yeah.
830.
When he took eighth, I believe.
Good, man.
Yeah.
830 is nasty.
Bracken, I've got a counter argument for you.
I do want you fact checking that. If he took eighth and if it was 836.
All right.
And then counter me. You can do both.
What year?
I can do the
2008 or
Jack, just give your counterpoint. I'll do the fact check.
Okay, that's fine. U.S. Olympic trials, 838.86. He got 8th place.
Okay,
you're correct.
Nice.
2008. My counter argument: we sort of already have a world-class level runner who's been trying hybrid for a couple of years in Asuri. He ran a 358 mile. That's national level mile realistically. He was an All-American runner in college, and he's gained what 40, 50. He posted a picture yesterday on his story. He weighs over 200 pounds now. Like, he's tried the strength thing. He did his first Deka in March 2022. Almost 2 years in at this point. He's broken 60 in Hyrox. He's run several Dekas.
It's up to 200 pounds now. Jeez.
Yeah, I think he's got to do a little bit.
He's doing the 5-minute cap
squat
for deadlift.
Yeah,
500 deadlift into a mile and a 500 deadlift. 500 deadlift and a mile under 5 minutes is the goal.
Something like that. Yeah, he's got a good deadlift. But yeah, my point is we sort of have already seen someone do that, and I know that there's a difference between like a 358 and a 346. Like if Jakob Ingebrigtsen decided to show that there's a difference in their talent level, but he's not that far off from being a world-class runner realistically if he stuck with it post-college. And he still isn't a world beater. So I don't think that you could have and your frame example is a great thing. Like he's adjusted the phrase. He's an athletic guy. I don't think that a woman who's like 5 feet tall is gonna beneficially be able to put on the 20 to 25 pounds of muscle
in a year
to make a difference. Or if you have like a Haile Gebrselassie or someone who he was like 5'3", he's not going to come in and just crush ram burpees or wall balls or anything. It's just not happening.
Right. You'd have to find frames. And I'm not saying she wouldn't be good. I think she'd be good. But she wouldn't instantly become a world champion or a champion threat, I don't believe.
She could do lunges in a minute and she would still get out of there first because her opening 500 run, like I would want her on my relay. Let me tell you that much.
Yeah.
She can run 10 by 500 for me.
Nick Mast used the example. Andrew Wheating would be a great candidate. Yes,
he
would.
One, yeah.
That's a great candidate. Mid distance then.
Chris Zielinski. Yes, great candidate. Someone with a frame, not just vertically, but horizontally, that could put on mass and hide it well. Those type of people, yeah.
Yeah. Ating Mo, how do you think? Because she's taller. Yeah.
She's tall. She probably could put on muscle.
We haven't seen her go past a mile.
What's the dude, the Canadian?
Arop.
Arop, yeah.
Oh, he's so good.
Yeah. But runners who look like they have big frames, it's kind of like CrossFitters that look tall. You're like, oh man, look how tall that guy is. See him in person, they're 5'7". You're like, oh, never mind.
And then I did it. I was in Eugene a couple of years ago, and I did one of those Nick Simmons races next to him. And this is when he's like in CrossFit shape. I'm like, he's not even bigger than me. Like, and he looks so big compared to all the other people. I can't imagine what he was 30 pounds before.
Ryan Hall would
Hall's
be a good
monster
candidate.
now.
He actually is. Yeah.
Those would be good candidates, but it's not going to ever be a world record holder. They're too fine tuned. Their frame is so genetically perfect for the task at hand that it just couldn't work.
They're not a
other
generalist.
places.
That's an interesting point. That's an interesting point.
So do
Like
you
name
think
the
that,
marathon world record holder ever who's been tall, like in modern time,
What's tall?
or 5K
Yeah.
or 10K? Like who wouldn't stand out as short in our sport?
How tall is Galen?
Galen's 5'10".
5'10"?
I
That's
think
kinda tall,
he might
right?
be 5'9".
Bracken's just asking to be fact checked this whole episode?
Galen Rupp height. I don't know. That's a good question.
5'11",
But often they're from
In alpha flies.
barefoot.
often
Topos.
they're East African, right? So like
Right.
generally from that region, they're going to be a bit
Yeah.
smaller.
Yeah, if we're limiting it to world record holders, it's probably not. If we're limiting it to the
Olympic
or we're allowing
runners.
the high level just behind BPAC on the
Olympic
world level,
trials.
B
Yeah. Make it
tier
happen.
world class would probably supplant us all.
Yeah.
If you
Yeah.
took all of them and gave them a year or two, yeah, we're obsolete because
Here's
they're
an example.
genetically superior.
Yeah, top 10 at the Olympic trial. Nell Rojas. She does a ton of strength training.
OCR
Like,
athlete.
yeah, oh, yeah, okay, yeah.
Hours.
But I feel like someone like Nell could come back, do really well in hybrid.
Yeah. That was a good example.
Of course it was. Yep. All right, Bracken, your example.
Hey, Bracken, you're one. What you got?
What if Ryan Atkins had ever specialized? And I say this with an asterisk in that in watching this, all these seasons, Ryan has been the person who has committed to the series the most in terms of showing up. From year one till now, he is the constant throughout history. But he is also the master of pivoting and pursuing other things. Like every world champ went all in on world championships, and he would do it for like a few weeks or a few months. Like, what if Ryan Atkins had ever said, I will become the best Spartan racer or OCR athlete I could possibly be, putting all else aside? What if that?
So you're saying he basically went Cody Moat 2017, where he like raced twice. He's like, I'm going to win Tahoe this year.
Robert
and I'm going to do it
Killian,
the year
Hobie
before.
Or he spent his time like in the 2 hour preparing for the 2 hour time frame instead of doing 8 hour runs on a Wednesday or whatever.
What if that
Move
helped
to
him, though?
altitude, prepare for 2 hours of Spartan.
Got
What
it
if?
fast? Yeah.
He was what, 5-time runner-up?
No, like 7.
7.
7 for real?
If we're counting
All right,
them,
let's
maybe it
count.
is, maybe it isn't.
All right,
Dubai
we'll
this year.
start over.
Dubai doesn't count. Or Dubai
2014, 2015, 16, he was in 4th. 2017, 18, 19. So he's got 5 in the 2010s. 2021, he got second again. That's 6. 2022, he wins. 2023,
He's third.
he won in the so he's got 6.
Didn't win.
Yeah.
Got third.
6, a 4th, and a 3rd. Couple wins.
6. So what does his record look like in those second place years?
Yeah, is he a
If
7-time
he's
champion?
Inches from winning it.
And I ask this because in the past, I always thought, even him at his best, he always ran into a buzzsaw at their best. But in watching these, I don't believe that. He almost ran down Hobie Call, and Hobie didn't have like his spectacular day. Hobie charged late, and then Atkins closed like 30 seconds on him in the final 2 miles. It made it
On that
really
downhill
close.
section. Yep.
He almost ran down Albon, and he almost ran down Killian in their respective wins. Like, what happens? He wasn't as close to Albon, I don't believe, but what happens? He didn't run into all-time great performances, and he wasn't specified for it, and they were.
And he missed 2 spear throws in Killington when he got second to Albon. He just did eco challenge before. Like, the number of so close. If this one little thing was tweaked, it's crazy to think about for him.
Yeah, is he a 7-time champion? Is he Matt Fraser? Is he Rich Froning? Does it change his is that a better legacy than what he's done now where it's across the board? Is it like a complete
What would you rather
no-brainer?
have? Be the greatest well-rounded with a couple titles, or win every time and not be known for variety? I think he probably takes more pride being able to do everything from 3K or even 1 mile
clearly,
with TMX all the way up to 24 hours or longer.
I'm taking him out of the equation. He clearly has crafted his life the way he wants it.
Yeah, exactly.
From the public perception, if he's a 5-time world champ, like what do you think he could have won? How did he have between 20 and 60 seconds in Tahoe 4 different times if he goes all in on it?
And he like arrives at altitude early. It seems like he doesn't get as affected by altitude. I've never really heard him complain about it. But like if
he also goes out slow in Tahoe.
Yeah. He's like 10th, 15th up the first climb off.
Does he have 1 minute on the first climb? Because that's all he needed 4 times in Tahoe was 1 minute on the first climb. Does he have that if he dedicates 9 months to that?
Taking him out of the equation, right? Because he likes to train the way he likes to train. He probably doesn't get these results if he does it differently.
You're looking at just the talent availability.
But it seems clear, like, yes, that he would have the ability to do that.
He might have won 4 in a row in Tahoe.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Like, yeah, he might be a 6-time champion. That'd be crazy. And is it better?
Cody Moat year would have been the hardest one, in my opinion.
Which one?
Cody Moat.
Yeah, Cody was on a different level.
He put like a 7-minute gap on the next best person in the second half of the race. Like nobody was beating him that year.
Yeah.
That's a good question, though.
Is that better for the sport, or is the parody been better? The different stories, the Robert Killians, and
he's the one. Well, not the one constant, because Killian has 5 Tahoe podiums, and Albon's always right there, and Hobie and Cody are always top 5 or winning it. Like it is a good question about the parity, but the same people are always at the top regardless, and have been. Even when they go to Abu Dhabi, Atkins still up there. Albon got 3rd over there.
Yeah. But if you look at it from like a CrossFit perspective, it's like, okay, it was Rich running for 5. Who else was on the podium? It's like, doesn't matter. Matt Fraser for 6. Like, who else was on the podium? It's like, don't know. Yeah, Ben Smith that was 1 year, right? But who else was on? You know, is it
it's
worse
better for the sport?
Yeah,
I think
probably
that he did what he did.
Probably,
and it allowed him to do everything else. It's why he's the ultimate battle frog champion. It's why he was so good at TMX. It's why he's so good at 24 hours. It's why he can do all these other things. Like he keeps, as the Adam Buck would say, his stoke birds chirping like everywhere. Like, and that fuels him. But it's also crazy that he was in the sport 2 years before Killian, and now he's been in the sport 2 years after Killian. Killian had 5 world podiums, and he was there bookending his career. It's mind-blowing how constant he's been.
Yep. So little tie into this. What if in 2011, we're talking about second place of the world championship, Josiah Middaugh finishes second behind Hobie Call, disappears for a decade, comes back. He's like 43 years old, leading U.S. National Series races. During the meantime, they had world championships we've seen how good he is at off trail running. They had it multiple years in a row at Killington, 5 straight at Tahoe. What would have happened if Josiah Middaugh in his 30s, while he's a world-class level Xterra athlete, decided to stick with OCR instead? He'd have had probably multiple world titles, in my opinion.
I think he is a 2 to 2.5 hour and under Cody Moat, but consistently, because Cody's 2 big struggles were health and obstacles at inopportune times. And when you watch Josiah, even his last series, he's ape swinging through rigs. Yeah, he got caught a time or two.
He fell off at Big Bear once.
He got caught a time or two, but he was very, very adept at climbing, descending, and he was outrageous at running technical terrain. I got to race him in that 2011 race. I got to see him, and I got to feel Cody the next year. And they're both like equal types of special, but I think he's more athletic than Cody.
That's crazy, because I've watched a decent amount of Cody highlights, and he's actually pretty athletic as well.
He's like a compact athletic. I think Josiah is actually dynamic.
So the reason I use Josiah instead of any
who dunks better? Yeah. Who wins in the?
I'm gonna go out on a limb that Josiah wins in the dunk contest, but Cody wins in a wrestling match if we're doing goofy games. Yeah, because he's a wrestling coach.
But Josiah was tough, right from the start, and he figured things out. And yeah, I agree. He's a multi-time world champ, And he's up there on Mount Rushmore if he stays there the whole time.
The reason I mentioned him instead of any other what ifs was because he did have a performance early on, and then he came back and did it all. Granted, he was older and stuff, but he faced all ends. He wasn't just a Max King where he was around 2013 and 14 and that's it, which would have been great to see what he did. But we saw just a flash of brilliance, his only race, and then he comes back 10 years later. I really wish we saw him throughout his career.
Does a Tahoe course that is less technical, like is he bombing the less technical downhills the same way, or does he need a hyper technical course to?
He's a long strider. He can run smooth.
Yeah,
and he lives
he lives at 10,000 feet. Yeah, so
10,000. He lives there.
Yeah, he lives in Vail or Aspen. Like he's up there.
Yikes.
Yeah, he's
got some steep terrain
real
to
deal.
Play around with.
Mm-hmm.
To put in perspective, like I feel bad, like I'm always like saying I saw this person, but like,
you're the OG.
Back in my day,
I had just come off college cross country and then track, and I wasn't out of this world, but I'd run 357 a few months prior in a 1500, and I'd been working endurance. I did my first OCR 2 months prior to that Texas race, and I did nothing but prepare for OCR from like September to December because I got so exposed in my first one. So I had worked grip.
Failed over under through.
I've been exposed over. I'd worked grip, I'd worked obstacles, I'd worked spear throw, I'd worked off-road running, and I got down there in very good shape. And Josiah ran next to Hobie from the start, and they ran away from me in the first 2 miles of technical running. We ran like grass for a while, and then we did creek bed running, and then we did sketchy stuff. There was a part where you needed like a rope to get up over a rock formation, and they were gone on the technical running. And then we hit a lake crossing, and we hit, it was like you came out of the lake crossing and down into a mud bath, climbed a rope up out of it, and then threw a spear in a place so muddy you couldn't plant your feet. He got through all of that side by side with Hobie.
Yeah.
And then matched him with burpees all the way through. Now they did different burpees.
Those are not burpees. Yeah, I was going to mention there's a video of this. And if you want to see the world's worst burpees, even worse than April D.
Watch that. And that was the standard then.
2011 Spartan World Championship on YouTube. It's like a 10-minute video. It's actually really fun to watch.
And then from there, Hobie ran away from him once he was really tired. But he made it like 5 miles with Hobie Call. And he hadn't done an ounce of preparation for that race.
And Hobie had won, 11 races or something like that earlier in the year.
So his natural skill set was already better than what I was doing off 3 months preparation. He was special from the start.
Multiple time world champ, in my opinion. He could have won it at Killington. He could have won it at Tahoe. Kind of like
if Atkins goes all in this hypothetical world,
hey, we would have had one more
in this multiverse that we're in.
Yeah,
not happening. Not happening.
All right, speak. Yeah,
he's a faster Killian, honestly.
Go
Rich.
Okay. What if Spartan Race never invested in putting their races on NBC? How does that change the sport?
Kirk DeWint never does it.
How does that change the participation? What's it look like?
Bracken's lonely without Kirk.
Mm-hmm.
You don't think you'd have met Kirk?
Just like we are.
You guys would have cross paths. Had to have happened.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't think he would have.
I don't think the sport is what it is today. We may not have Hyrox without it.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, it showed a viable route to corporate success through fitness racing. Maybe someone else does it. Maybe Tough Mudder does it instead. But that was their boom moment.
That was right around the time when CrossFit Games were on ESPN or ESPN2, whatever they were, and they were showing ESPN 8, the Ocho type sports, and it was cool that OCR was getting that exposure. And I think that, like I mentioned earlier, with the pictures of the fire jump and stuff, yes, that helped with some people sharing it, but having it on NBC and later on ESPN for like the Mountain Series and stuff, we've actually had a decent exposure to to the masses, even if a ton of people didn't watch. We had Spartan Ultimate Team Challenge a spin-off as a result on NBC later. If they didn't do it, I don't know where OCR would be. It might never have grown as much.
They never would have caught Tough Mudder in name recognition.
People still are like, oh, is that like a Tough Mudder when you're talking about Spartan Race? So
yeah, and
yeah.
Now people know that it's that other name in that realm. It wouldn't have ever been that. Tough Mudder would have just been far and away. They would have been Savage to Spartan, but Spartan to Tough Mudder. That's what it would have been.
Yeah.
So my take on this always is that they jumped the gun on that, on putting the sport in front of eyeballs before the sport was developed. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. It's like, what if they actually develop a sport first and then see if they can make it more digestible without needing to cut it into basically a TV show, right? Because it wasn't like a sport. It was a TV show. Even like the series races, right? Like the voiceovers and
half the show would be highlighting this person with an inspirational story as opposed to the athletes.
Right. And like, unlike watching like a football game where it's the game.
Yeah. They're not like the guy in section 304, man, he had a rough day at work today. That's just not what happens.
Right. So if they like figure out a way to make it, if they take that,
I don't know if you're watching NFL these days. They show the luxury boxes a lot.
Eminem.
I'm not watching football ever again. I'm going to watch football and
I thought
enjoy
yesterday was fantastic.
I had zero fun the last 7 or 8 weeks. So I'm happy.
That's trash.
I'm happy that this is over.
It's over. It's over.
Terrible.
10-1.
Yeah, that's good.
Go Birds.
That's a great record. They get beat one time by a good team. Like, oh, guess we're not going to win the Super Bowl. Might as well not try for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
Makes me upset.
Yeah. Anyway, what are your thoughts, Rich?
I mean, from what we know of Spartan, the chances of them doing like, hey, let's build the sport and like make it digestible, like build stories around what's happening within the race itself, that wouldn't have happened. But I wish that that's where it could have gone instead of investing in the production. Because how would that deal work, right? They had to spend money. Spartan would have to spend a lot of money on that, right?
To get airtime, I'm sure they did.
Like that kind of partnership, yeah. I mean, there's advertisers.
Bracken actually would probably know like at least a few details because you were kind of
he was there back then.
Yeah.
Have you heard?
I never knew who was footing the bill for Transition Productions. I don't know if NBC pays that and they make their money back through advertising, or if Spartan has to buy their way into that slot. I don't know what that was like. Like I know Tough Mudder or Battle Frog had to pay to get onto ESPN.
But Battle Frog, they like the normal Tostitos or Fiesta Bowl, whatever it was, the sponsorship was like $2 million, but they paid like pennies on the dollar for it.
I'm talking about the show, their actual televised race. Like they paid to get into
team
that
championship
spot. I don't know if Spartan paid for their spot or if because they were considered a potentially profitable entity that NBC covered the cost of Transition Productions and then were able to sell their own normal advertisements, because the advertisements were normal. You had your Spartan adverts and then you had normal commercials.
Yeah.
Which tells me that NBC probably covered the cost of Transition Productions for that first season or two because they were selling their own spot, or it was split or reduced in some capacity.
So, Bracken, this is going to be a blast from the past. Yeah, you'll probably know it. Do you remember Inside Obstacle News with Joel Getty?
Joe Getty, yes.
Joe Getty. Yeah, Joel. Yeah. I watched the video maybe a week ago because I was looking up some stuff for Killington, and they had he had like the press conference, and it was a 30-minute thing just introducing. You were actually one of the athletes where everyone went around with the microphone and stuff.
Damn, and the mic.
Yeah,
it was a legit press conference.
It is always nice on the mic.
They had 4 or 5 people at a bench or at a table in the front, and Bracken was in the crowd. Even Cody Moat, the defending champ, was in the crowd. It was a little weird, but
that was the day I knew Atkins was a problem.
No, this is the year before Atkins. This is 2013.
2013? They didn't have one in 2013.
I guarantee you, I watched it within the past week. Guarantee you. But yeah,
Albon that gum surgery.
This is the one where Matt Murphy came over and he got second place. This is 2013.
Yeah.
Okay. Guarantee you.
I didn't go to that press conference. I was pouting because I was.
You were in the crowd and you're like Bracken Crocker, blah blah.
Bracken's media adverse.
You said it. I'll show you. Look up the clip. But anyway, Someone asked, like Joe was talking, Joe DeSena, and he was like, "This weekend's going to cost us like a couple $100,000." That's what he said. So my guess is if he said that, it was probably more towards the prize money, not towards NBC or anything.
Well, first of all, 2013, we're talking.
Correct, not 14. I got my years correct.
That was at Killington, adjacent to the town Joe owns, and they bring in like $2 million to the town. So I don't think it cost Joe much to host. So the couple $100,000, I think that's theoretical money, like man hours plus prize money plus the production. Like, I don't think he had that out of his pocket. It was probably a couple $100,000 production.
Okay.
That would be my guess, because what CEO ever got up, especially a Wall Street guy, and gave you the exact number?
Right. He just says numbers that would be impressive to other people that he's like.
Yeah. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying that he misled.
I got you.
Which had never happened before or ever again.
That was a rare moment in time.
Yeah.
So what I think we had, and maybe this was other times, right, where television was still like cable packages and actual commercials on these cable packages. Maybe it had to happen at that time and later down the road where we are now, where it's, the on demand and different streamers. Maybe it couldn't happen the way that I think it may have turned out, but if they spent time on the infrastructure of the sport, maybe that by the time it gets to TV, people give a shit about watching it or can watch it and then tie the stories together and be like, oh, this is actually a viable sport instead of a television show that was on for 3 seasons, 2 seasons. How many was there?
For Ultimate Team Challenge or NBC?
The NBC
2014, 15, 16, 3 or 4.
3 or 4.
Yeah.
Maybe it's still on if it comes on in 2017. Maybe it's still a thing.
I always thought that their trajectory could mirror the rise of the UFC, because they're both kind of cast off sports made up of people from other sports that weren't like good enough boxers or grapplers or jiu-jitsu practitioners to do it. But you can combine it all together in this oddball thing, and the public doesn't really get it, but everyone who's in it loves it. Mm-hmm. And they were on TV for a while. They put on events, they were on TV, and then they had the Ultimate Fighter. And that culminated with this crazy finale with Forrest Griffin and Stephan Bonnar. And it kickstarted what the UFC now is, which is a multi-billion-dollar corporation.
Sport. Yeah.
Sport, but corporation.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's what Spartan was. They were a corporation making a sport, and they were on a low-level TV. Like, what was UFC was originally on Spike TV.
Wow.
And Spartan did all that, the same kind of thing, but then they never had their Ultimate Fighter moment to propel it onto like network television and like get in front of the viewer's eyes in a time slot in prominence and give them a reason to watch the sport. They had a sport that no one cared about. Then they had a TV show that made people care about the sport. And Spartan started with a half sport, half TV show and didn't give it a reason to go either direction. And they lost momentum. So I don't know if this answers your question or not, but I think it kind of sides with you that they started the TV before the sport was ready. And they didn't know what their product was yet. So they straddled both lines. Like, we have open and we have elite. Let's show them both. And they didn't choose one and go with it on a television basis.
Yeah. Because they're just trying to get
to grow the sport, in my opinion, because it might not have stuck around and it wouldn't have passed Tough Mudder, just like you mentioned earlier. But
the Tough Mudder was never a sport. They tried to be a sport after Spartan existed. Because they got them regional championships. Can't take that shit away.
You either need millions of eyes or you need millions of dollars in sponsor. Ideally, both. And Spartan had millions in sponsor, but they never captured the millions of eyes. And then the millions in sponsors started to go away. Like, you can do the Ironman route of having really big sponsors, or the UFC route of getting millions of eyes that bring in sponsors. Spartan didn't know how to do either real and keep it going.
Rocking real quick. I have a photo. Look at this. Who's that guy?
Who is that?
That's you. That's Bracken.
That's outside.
The title says Spartan Race 2013 press conference highlights Vermont Beast. That's you with the microphone.
Is that outside though, or am I in a room?
This is inside. There's inside a room. I'll send you the link later.
I sent a proxy.
You probably sounded great.
It was probably Killian.
Yeah. I guess it's just like the sport is, and this is always just like the issue. It's like the sport of a Spartan race is hard to watch, right? Like, so like the difference between the UFC and Spartan race, I love that analogy. That works really well for me. But like UFC is straightforward, right? And it's incredibly exciting to watch, even if you have no idea what's going on.
Although I'm going to counter you. I think boxers and grapplers didn't love the UFC watching it.
Yeah, but random ass people did.
The bros and the random people did. And I think it was the same way with Spartan, where you'd watch it and be like, that's not what the race is. Like, this is dumb. But we'd get so many people who'd be like, hey, I caught this randomly. That's so cool. Like, my whole family watched it. Like, why? Like, it was cool. It was like a long Ninja Warrior, but like, I really like the blind guy. Like, that's what we didn't like about it. But so I think that the participants,
blind guy on Ninja Warrior,
seems like a terrible
idea. Oh, okay.
on Spartan on NBC. But
I
think
and he falls off.
Yeah, Ninja Warrior would be bad. You have to echolocate the obstacles. That wouldn't be great.
Cancel bracket.
I think we liked it less than the average. I think the average person enjoyed it. They just weren't given a reason to like really invest in it.
What if they had the same production company that brought UFC to its current point do the same thing for OCR?
Well, that production company put on a reality TV show, which
I was going to say, weren't they trying to do something like that for OCR? I thought there was.
I was.
Okay,
yeah, you were in there.
Never mind. Well, maybe Bracken.
I kept pitching it to them.
It's a good idea.
I thought we needed a house training camp where you fought for spots on the pro team, and it was coached by like Atkins and Hobie.
That's still the move, right? It's still like the drive to survive. It still was what was making these niche sports popular in the mainstream.
You have to drive a story.
You have to drive a story, right?
Yeah.
And then like the sport stands alone from the story. It's not the same thing because they try to do it the same thing, but like separating them. People watch F1 who watched Drive to Survive first,
right?
And then now they're investing in the sport or that breaking point in tennis or whatever. Like that's still a viable option. They're like, Bracken, go sit in the audience.
All right, you gotta
pick. I mean, I pitched to Coble. I pitched it to Joe DI. I tried to get them to pitch it to Joe. To me, it was one of those things where our sport is boring to watch people hiking up a mountain, but our training's kind of badass.
Yeah.
Who would you put on it? You have 5 men, 5 women. Who would you
at
with?
The time, I pitched was you had Atkins and you had Cody, because Atkins was like the Battle Frog Tough Mudder guy. I mean, and Hobie was the other guy. But in reality, I said, get rid of Hobie and have Hunter as the other one. Like, you've got to have a dynamic coach lead on that. And then each week you bring in someone like myself or Hobie or someone as a guest coach to help put these guys through a workout. But you just get them pumped up and shirtless and doing like the epic, heroic Spartan workout type stuff. And then there's a race at the end of each week. And people just move on through, and then they earn a pro team contract. It's not like, maybe the idea sucks or whatever, but you have to give people, so like you had to have Isaiah there. You had to have, at the time, April D there. You had to have people to root for or against. You had to have someone that was going to have a political view, someone that was going to have like just a mouth that was outrageous, someone who was silent but like an absolute killer. And anyway, I don't know if that's the route, but you have to find some way to make people care.
Or like the quarterback show, less of the game show. And just like
Kirk Cousins suddenly is beloved by America, and before people only talked about that he chokes.
Yeah,
you like that? Come on, man. They had the dudes rocking chains.
How'd Jalen Hurts do?
Dude, Jalen's fine. Everybody back off of Jalen. Do you see that defense? That is trash.
Jalen wasn't on quarterback.
Huh? Yeah.
Anyways, it made people care about Kirk Cousins.
That's why I didn't watch the show, because I don't want to like Kirk Cousins. I'm like, I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to like this guy.
Yeah. All right. Next topic. I've got one.
You got one?
What if John, Albon, and Zuzana lived in the U.S.? Because we're always like, oh, we've got some good people over there in Europe, but we only see them at World Championships. I do not think that people realize how good those two athletes are, despite their titles. Whenever people talk about the GOATs, Albon gets overlooked all the time. Zuzana arguably is second or third on the women's side. She's beaten Lindsay a couple times, but used to win every race by like 20, 30 minutes. Never had any competition. We finally learned who she was in Tahoe 2015 and 16. And I just think it would have changed things so much. We would have had such a different monster on the women's side specifically, but seeing Albon more often would have been fantastic as well.
Would it have been less likely that Albon finds sky running and like kind of abandons OCR if he's in the US and he's mostly
Probably.
OCR then?
I think for both of them, the big thing, it's an availability problem. They don't get big into skiing, mountaineering, sky running. What, did she have a baby?
She was just kind of at the end of her career, right?
Yeah.
Zuzana?
Yeah, she's like 43, 44 right now.
But they had her for like 5 years.
Yeah, so she
that we
wasn't
would have
that.
had here.
Yeah.
A 5-year career in the US in our series was enough to make you argue with no argument the second best ever. Maybe the first. So I think both of them go down as the best of their generations if they just lived here and did a bunch of races and weren't distracted by being great at other things.
That would be interesting. That would have been great for the series, right? Maybe good for
Albon
the
did
sport.
come over a couple times. Palmerton and Breckenridge, I believe.
Yeah, I remember training at Palmerton because that's close to where my parents live, and seeing some of the segments and Albon's on there on these like crazy technical downhills. Like what?
You're like, nope.
I'm like, dude, he did like a half mile like 3 minutes faster than I did, and I'm like, I don't think this makes sense.
I saw you in 4 cars, and it makes sense.
I'm tiptoeing. Shit is scary, bro.
Jack's throwing flame today.
No,
I'm back. I had a week off. You guys talk shoes. You got lazy, and now I'm
It
ready.
was decidedly unfunny without you here.
we were way too locked in. We were
so
just
dry.
We were
Yeah,
just
there's nothing
locked
funny
into
about
shoes.
shoes.
We're like
Technical details.
New Balance, Leg Strike Bro. What else?
Hilarious. Yeah.
What else?
Yeah.
Aside on this, we talked about Albon twice. Are we locked into the Saudi Arabia race? He's now officially in.
Oh yeah. What do you think is going through some people's minds? Like, oh shit.
What do you mean? Some people? There's like one person.
I'm sure like there are a few people who think that they could win it on the men's
Who?
side, not just Atkins.
Yeah, there's a
Just
ton of
Atkins.
guys who think they can win it.
Who?
A ton.
Legitimately,
2,000 people? That's too many people.
legitimately,
Well,
I think
wait
Botras thinks
ton.
he could win it.
Oh, so that's probably like 20 people, 25 people.
15,
Yeah.
15 people. 15 people might be, maybe a ton of people think that they can win
Yeah.
it. 15 is too many. Half a ton.
I
Anthony
think a
Kunkel,
guy. Yeah.
He thinks he
ahead.
can win it.
Mark Botras,
Yes.
Ryan Atkins,
Yep.
Joshua Reed.
Thinks he can.
Yeah, he probably, I mean, like,
Yeah,
probably.
thinks he
probably.
can. We didn't say expects to. We said thinks they can win it.
In training, they're thinking
He
about
will
winning.
absolutely shock
DJ?
people there.
Gaudet? Is
Probably.
Gaudet
Yeah,
going?
I don't know. Gaudet.
He was a
should.
maybe. He'd be nasty. That's a good distance for him.
Yeah.
You've got to assume people
that's not
overseas
a ton.
believe they can as well.
Basilico's on a team. Chris Bob Brown, Tyler Vreeman are on a team. Like
Right. They're not going
the-
individual.
they're not going
That's
head to
true.
head, but I think
KBB
you
was
have
so good. Dang.
So maybe half a ton. Half a ton of people
half a
believe
ton,
they
only
can win it.
1,000. Yeah.
But really, Atkins. Like
I don't-
8-hour distance for Atkins? That's crazy. That's a
He
great
stated in
distance.
the past that's his best distance, and I do not believe he has ever lost an OCR Ultra ever.
Here's what makes this so interesting to me is that he has never lost an OCR Ultra ever, but he does mountain ultras. We've seen him do a less vert-based ultra. We saw it last January now.
What was
And
that?
he did very well. Was that Bandera?
In Texas, yeah. And he got 5th, I think, against some pretty high level runners.
Mm.
And
Yeah,
he
he
had
did
like
very well.
he had some ankle or
Rolled his
toe-ish,
ankle
like,
early.
Yeah.
Anyway,
An
he's
actual, not an
on-
OCR Ultra.
correct. He's untouchable, but it's primarily been in the mountains. And in this day and age, 8 hours is now a speed race.
Right.
And
Not in my opinion, but yeah.
in the ultra world,
I know.
8 hours
Yeah.
is now a speed race.
Right.
Like if you put Atkins versus Chris Bob Brown on a runnable 8-hour course,
He's losing by 20 minutes at least.
You think so?
I'm just saying that you don't know who to pick where Atkins would be like a clear favorite in many other places, but like Botras against Atkins in an 8-hour flat race, like, would you be confident choosing Atkins? Should he win this? Yeah, probably. But 8 hours is actually, and this sounds crazy to say, short enough and runnable enough that someone can just outrun the rest of the field.
It's on
And
sand.
it won't
I-
be
I
Ryan
don't-
Atkins.
I don't want to dive too deep into this because we definitely need material for that episode.
We
And
can
I-
do it
could-
again. We're well,
Okay,
we're deep.
alright,
We're deep
alright.
into this episode. People are
I've
probably
got,
not
I've got
listening anymore.
several different questions I want to ask, so I just don't want to do a 20-minute tangent on this.
When
one.
is
We're
that
gonna talk
race?
about, February 24th.
Oh, we have a ton of time.
If and
I
when
know.
Ryan wins, it won't be because he's the fastest flat terrain runner in the field. But if he gets beat, it'll be because someone else was the fastest flat terrain runner in the field. Like we've seen Batras 24 hours into a race running 6:30 pace. Like that's
crazy.
dumb.
That's crazy.
So I don't think that it's like good night. The door is shut. If it was 8 hours in Iceland, like everyone else should go home.
Yeah, don't even bother.
But I don't think it's to that level because we have so many talented runners.
Yep. All right. Another question on? We mentioned Zuzana potentially being, second best on the women's side. The other person in contention for that is Nicole Mericle. What if Nicole didn't get hurt at Hildebrand? She was around the past couple of years.
That was right at COVID, though, right?
Yeah, but
Was that after COVID?
She kind of, this is her
The first
comeback
race
season
back.
2 years after.
That was the first race back from COVID.
She didn't race
Hildebrand?
last year in 2022. She got hurt in
Yeah.
21 in May, and this year in
okay.
2023 she raced. She basically took 2 full years off of racing. Let's say that she was, trifecta world champion, Spartan world champion at Tahoe 2019. She just has great training for 2 more years. COVID's done. She rejoins in 2022.
I mean, is it the same? Is it the same story as always? Like she crushes the flat runnable ones, and Lindsay beats her.
She
in the
won
mountains?
Tahoe,
Is it just
though.
come on.
I just watched Tahoe.
Yeah.
Just watched it this week.
I know Lindsay had the foot issue.
She had a broken
Bracken-
foot.
Yes, she
You
looked
can't be-
good though.
She did not look good.
Yeah, what are you talking about?
Really?
Looked good.
Oh.
2 days ago. 2 days ago, I'm
She wasn't
watching
even in
this.
the
Then how
race.
bad
She
was
wasn't
everybody
engaged.
else?
She's going down the descent, and they're talking about it on the live stream, going, she has a limp. And I'm watching it thinking, she looks notably slower than Nicole. And then she gets to the bottom and it lost like a minute and a half to Nicole on the descent. Where
Broken foot. Yeah.
when they got to the top of the double sandbag, she was within like 60 to 90 seconds of her. And she got to the bottom, it was like 3 or 4 minutes. So all I'm saying is it doesn't detract from Nicole. It just shows how depleted Lindsay was because they went down through a rocky, snowy descent and Nicole doubled her gap on Lindsay, and there's no world in which that happens.
Mhm.
Nicole is a fantastic, fantastic athlete, but that's Lindsay's realm. So she did beat her, but Lindsay did have a broken foot.
Yeah.
That's all I want to say is like in Lindsay's defense.
I just want to be like, how would she have done in Abu Dhabi?
That's the question.
Yeah.
We saw what Emma did in Abu Dhabi.
Yeah.
She took Lindsay to the limit.
Yeah.
Which year?
2021. She got 4th. She fell off
Yeah.
the rig right at the end.
she got
and had to
4th.
do some nasty sandbag. But I think Annie.
But she was already in.
crossed
She was
by
already
then.
in 4th.
Yeah.
Or she may
No,
have been third.
it was her and Elisa battling for podium, and she got there ahead of Elisa and then failed.
How long did she run up in first for though?
Lindsay
think she was
missed
very
the
much in-
spear, and I think Annie was the only one who made it, and there were a bunch of top women in the burpee pit at like an hour.
I don't.
in.
Yeah, I don't think Emma was really with Lindsay in that one.
Not at that one. Throughout the year, she was.
I'm gonna have to rewatch.
Yeah.
Rewatch it, man. What do you got going on?
Yeah,
It's cold
you,
out.
You watch all of
On
them.
the treadmill.
Except Abu Dhabi. I skip past that every time.
Don't like it. Don't like that.
I
That
don't know.
ascent up that.
I think
dune.
it's because we did such a good job on the broadcast. He doesn't want to watch any other coverage that won't lead up or live up to our.
You can't have a better
expectations.
memory than what you already have.
Yeah, what's it gonna do? Taint my experience?
You should go back and watch the watch along.
Yeah.
Does that exist?
Yeah.
Oh
I
yeah.
think,
Oh, yeah. It
it's
has
up
like
there.
4,000 or 5,000 views. A lot of people watch it.
People are like, wait, what is this?
I have
Yeah.
found myself having to
Next.
mute my commentary on these national series races.
Oh, really?
Like I can
Just
listen to other
cringing?
people and be like, this is bad. This is bad. I come on there. I'm like, I can't even listen to myself. Here. I just can't do it.
And another knee injury. So Claude Gabu, she won Spartan Race World Championship twice. She had like 20 races.
She's on our
that
list.
She did in her Spartan career, and she podiumed at all but one of them. Her final race, 2015 Tahoe.
DK doesn't
It's
buy
like,
it.
It's like why'd she end her career? Because she tore her ACL at the Battle Frog team race the following year, and that was the end of her. What if she didn't hurt herself? She had a kid maybe 3-4 years ago, but she still had 3-4 years of competition before she decided to have a kid, theoretically.
Number 10 on our list.
Yeah. But I think that if she had the opportunity to face people such as, Faye, Alyssa, Rhea, Nicole, like in that 2015 to 18 era, I think we would have viewed her a lot differently.
BK doesn't buy it.
I don't know, because I didn't get to see her run those type of courses enough. The question about any person that came from an early era, and I think again I fit this archetype, is the longer they stay in it, if they're no longer as successful, it erodes what they did prior. Like my world championship is clearly worth less than the same. I mean, my world podium clearly is worth less than Hobie's world podium from the same year, because that turned out to be my pinnacle. And there was a watered down field where Hobie took second to Cody and then won more titles afterwards. And it validated what he did early. I have invalidated what I did early to some extent.
Is this kind of like what people are like, oh, that guy in the 1960s, well, he was facing plumbers for his opponents and stuff.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't that good of a title.
Yeah. But if in the 80s he was still giving people work, then they'd be like, he was the man. I come out and go like 8th or 9th in a series, and it's like anyone could have gone top 3 back then. And it's probably true. And my worry is that maybe she is like that good, but I don't know, like in the Asheville's and in all these SoCal races, the races where you needed real wheels, I don't know if I ever saw evidence that she had that or not. I'm not saying she didn't. I just didn't see it. So there's a chance she's now top 5 because she kept racing. And there's a chance she's out of the top 10 because we saw a body of work that wasn't like befitting of her earlier titles. So I don't know what it would have done. Do we have evidence of that? Do we see her in some of these like modern Spartan style non-Killington, non-Tahoe races?
Could look it up, but I know she did like Palmerton and a few others, but it was a different race style back then. We don't have the modern, like only doing walls and walls and walls type of courses.
Like she was a monster, but I don't know what type of runner she was.
Yeah.
In those races, 14, 15, 16, you had to be able to run.
Definitely. Yeah. My whole point is she basically, no matter who was there up until then, was great. And then an injury took away her career. It's kind of like Bobby Orr, like fantastic, like was, winning everything early on, and then he had a knee injury, but modern medicine, he would have come back. Instead, he was basically forced to limp off and retire shortly after. It just stinks when you lose someone early.
I look at Amelia the same way. Would she be top 3 now if she raced all the way through, or would she be off the back end realizing like the wheels weren't ever really quite there to do modern Spartan? Then she shows up to Breckenridge and it's like, I think she could have done this the whole time. And then other times you're not sure. So I don't know with those two.
All right. What if Hyrox gets rid of the sleds?
Ooh. And it's an 8 run, or is it a 6K?
They replace it with barbells.
Oh, that might be even harder for some people.
Or something. That's what I've been banging at this. Replace it with barbells.
I think it's a worse product.
Really?
Great.
Yeah, because there's no skill needed for the sled, and now people who show up have to be barbell proficient. It absolutely changes the field.
Like if you're doing 315 versus 225 for something, like for deadlifts, for instance. So imagine if you had to do like a squat clean and a deadlift ladder. Something. It
takes the people out of it who get there multiple ways. The Dylans. I don't know Ryland's weight training. I know he does, like he was talking about, he's done 4x4, but like, what does that look like? Is it squat, deadlift, bench, and overhead press, or is he cleaning and snatching? Like, depending on what the barbell movement is, but like the people who get there off of pure muscular endurance or high rep, huge volume, I think that takes them out of the race.
I think they got to get better at this stuff then.
True, but that's the answer, is that it changes it.
Changes it
dramatically.
Do you think it hurts the masses? Do you think they like people see? Because my recommendation would be like 30 front squats at a weight between like 165, 185 for men, and then
30 front squats.
30 front squats. 10
from the ground. No rack. You just gotta
from the ground. You gotta clean it up.
Do you know the chaos that would be like? And you drop it, you're on like your 9th rev. Now you have a barbell rolling away and you've got 20 people in the area.
What are you talking about? If you watch CrossFit, there's not like the barbells are like springing out of the
You don't think the open heats, who are a lot of the competitors, you think they're going unbroken for 30?
No, you got to do 10, Then you got to roll it. You do 10.
Yeah.
You got to roll. So you still get some of the race element in
Okay.
there as well. And then deadlifts between, for men, 275 and like 315. Also 30. Same deal.
Top end is going to be fine. It'll take some people out and replace it with more CrossFit style that like are pumped about this. But for the masses, oh my goodness, no matter how tired you get, you can lean against the sled for another step and rest. Like at some point, you're not getting the bar
I can't deadlift
to front rack
anymore.
position
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah.
Get stronger.
Right,
They
but they
just-
won't finish. The masses.
know.
This is
won't
going to be
finish.
like Savage Race when you have 17 people fighting for that one spot. Whoever completes the
The
rig.
sleds
ends
do
up
that to
winning.
some people. Some people are taking 7-8 minutes on the sled pull.
True, but they'll be
And they get
infinity
better.
on front squat because they have to get it off the ground. Like what would open weight be?
For men,
Yeah.
135,
35.
Yeah, and I think you'll see
125.
people fail out on that. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm saying it's
115.
it'll bring more CrossFitters in and more
Mhm.
people from box-based gyms, and it'll be
Mhm.
a hurdle for starting to people who don't touch barbells.
Or
I
maybe
think
it's
it would-
kettlebells. Maybe it's like 53s to 72s for the front squat, and then you can scale it down, and then it's like 100-pound kettlebells for the deadlifts or something like
Squats
that.
are so bad for depth. You'd have more judging issues.
It'd be slower though.
Yeah,
It would not be. It would not move the way that the wall balls move.
I think it would take away the sled controversy. I can tell you that much.
It would
This
standardize it
is-
more.
Yep.
It would definitely
You
standardize
only-
it more.
Now you just need to figure out how to get your 8K to actually be an 8K every single time.
Impossible.
We're good. Yeah.
Impossible. They already got the weights. Barbells cost
interesting.
less than sleds.
They do. Yeah. I mean, yeah, they could literally just use the weights that they already have for.
It's
for
less of
sleds.
those.
I think it's important to their identity. It sets them apart from CrossFit, not being a barbell competition. But it cleans things up. But I mean, realistically, guys, if we can't judge wall balls, walking lunges, burpee broad jumps, do you really think we can judge front
Yep.
squats?
Yeah.
I think it'll be slower. I think it'll be easier to judge.
You think we're going to
It'll be
judge
slower.
lockout on deadlift?
I
We're
think
going
that's
to
easier.
judge the hip hinge. What's easier than parallel?
Well, because it's the speed that people go at with the wall balls, and then there's two
Very
positions.
few.
That-
Only the top people do.
It's not that fast. The cycle rate isn't that crazy.
It'll be faster than a 185 front squat. I'll tell you that much.
What's the cycle rate on walking lunges and people can't get it right?
I think that. Do you think it's bad for
Burpee
walking
broad
lunges?
jumps, stepping up on past your hands. Like that is the most clear, obvious thing. And at the pro level, we see it like egregiously fudged. So I don't think that adding a barbell movement solves any issues, honestly.
I agree.
Fairness, other than fairness.
Fairness for sure. But
Other
I
than
don't think
fairness.
it'll be that hard. I don't think that the judging would be that hard.
It shouldn't be already.
It's harder
I have
than
no faith.
sleds. It's harder
I
than
have
sleds
no
for
faith.
sure.
Ram
I'll
burpee
see.
should be crazy easy to judge.
Well, that's the standard. It's not the judging. It's the
They're
standard
changing
that's
it.
messed up.
It's both.
Yeah.
I think it's. I think well, if
Judges
Because
it's
the
don't count.
variance judge to
Judges
judge.
don't call them out.
I have given up all hope in humanity when it comes to volunteer judging. So let's just move past that, at least in non-CrossFit.
I was watching Wadapalooza and the judging was like, there was definitely some spots where they weren't like, and it was the
Mhm.
first time I think I really noticed, and maybe I was looking for it more, but it was one of the first times where I noticed like, oh, that's going to be a problem, or that's going to be a problem.
Final nail in my coffin was watching the last Hyrox stream, whatever that was, and there were two people on there
I stuck
who
them.
know the sport, one of whom is a judge that I've seen judge, and one of
Oh,
whom
yeah,
is
yeah.
a coach, and they were arguing against each other. One saying it's clear as day good, and the other saying it's clear as day bad. And on that day, I just gave up. That we can't do this.
This is like, did the field goal actually go through the uprights? And one of them
Yeah.
waved it off. The other's like, it's good. It's good. And they argue.
So at this point, I don't care. Make it whatever you want. Just no judges.
Stockholm judges were good.
Great. They're efficient.
They were
think
good.
I think in theory,
No American judges ever.
Sled is so simple. It's just get it from point A to B. No depth involved. I like the simplicity of it. Farmers carry this thing for 200 meters. That's all you have to do. Skier, go until it says 1,000 on the display. Like I like the simplicity, and I think that introducing barbells is going to cause a lot of issues.
Although I think the question was, what if?
What if?
I don't
Quit
think
being
we're
a
debating
bitch.
So,
The-
so
the
you're saying
merits of it.
2018 they didn't have sleds. They're like, we had
Shows up with
we have
barbells. Shows up with barbells. Yeah.
A lot of DNFs. I would not have been able to complete 30 by 185 front squat on that first race.
Well, then you would have prepared for it.
I-
Say, whatever. 185 is a lot, but it should be a lot. The sled push
I
is
know,
hard.
yeah.
The sled push waxes people.
Yeah.
It would
Sled
change
pull,
how you have to
25
train.
meter. Yeah, it would change how you
Front
have to
squat
now-
is good because the position of it as opposed to a back squat. I think it's not a perfect substitute, but like if you can't do a sled push, that's a good movement substitute to train for it.
It's easier to dump. Like it's like back
Yeah.
back will be rough.
Yeah.
Right now, it would be a fun challenge to see how good you could get at training someone or yourself for Hyrox without ever touching a barbell. It'd be doable.
Grady
yeah.
Jackson basically did that.
You could no longer do that with
No.
this. And so it would fundamentally change the options for how to train for this.
Absolutely.
So it would be a drastic change in direction for the sport. I'm
But
not saying good or
barbells-
bad for that. Just it would be a huge change.
Barbells are accessible. It's not like
Yeah.
we're
Yeah.
changing.
More
It might be
accessible
more
than
accessible
sleds.
than sleds for sure.
Yes. It might
For
force
sure.
you to go to the gym, and then now you're more on the machines. Like some people might just try to get away with it, but you have to work on a barbell. You're probably going to work on other machines while you're there instead of just trying to work your way around it.
Yeah, I wonder if it would then maybe the OCR people who've trickled in, maybe we don't see them and we see CrossFitters trickle in more, and maybe it's
For
a
sure.
wash. Maybe it doesn't change like anything.
I don't think it changes the top in
Uh,
terms of
probably.
participation. Makeup, yes. I think it could actually
not
change
even.
participation numbers of the open, but I don't think it does of the elite.
In a good or a bad way?
Bad way open, probably good way elite. I think
I
you
think
have
it-
more available elite athletes then that suddenly can make a splash.
It would scare some open people depending on how heavy the open weight is from doing some of the movements with a barbell. But I agree that you might have people like, oh yeah, I'm a regional level CrossFit athlete. Like some people are going to be stuck on this for 5-6 minutes, and I can just go unbroken, and I've gained 5 minutes right here.
Yeah.
Like, I agree.
Yeah, the spread would be even greater than on the sled push and pull.
Yeah, it might hurt the runners. It's everyone's goal is to be not good
Hurt
at
the
running
runners.
and
Yeah.
still good at something with running. And it
Mhm.
might hurt the runners even more.
Which would make a lot of people happy.
For sure. Like I said, most people don't want to get better at running. They just want the runners to get hurt more.
Yeah, exactly. All right.
That's all.
Bracken, you have another one?
Yes.
Okay.
And this is a different kind of what if. What if Hyrox had never been invented?
Oh no.
And part 2, everyone who went all in on Hyrox went all in on OCR.
On the 3K.
Where would
Ooh.
Kent, Hunter, Rich Ryan,
No.
where would these people be right now in the sport? Because again, watching all these things through, when Hunter showed up, he was one of the best whenever he wanted to be, even at races that didn't make sense to him. And when Kent showed up, he was one of the best at any distance. Most nasty terrains were better for him. Where would these guys all be now?
Imagine like a Lauren Weeks going all, or a Meg Jacoby going into OCR.
But like
Yeah,
she
what-
could have. She didn't.
What
The-
would Abu
But,
Dhabi
but if
have
they
looked
didn't
like
know
this year?
about it,
They did. Well, there was years before.
yeah, I guess she
That- or
trained
that
in New
OCR
Sanity,
did
so she
exist.
had the chance.
Does a 3K exist in this scenario? There's the same pattern of what's happened in competitive OCR.
I think the Olympic push would have resulted in it regardless of what's going on in Hyrox. They were talking about this for years, I'm sure.
Like, how does it change the competitive landscape,
I-
though?
I think-
Is our list different? Is Hunter higher up?
I think some people like Hunter might have lost interest at a certain point because he kind of did, or maybe he was just lured to TMX first, and then
If-
like his tendencies obviously go towards Hyrox. He was kind of training that way for a while, and then he became a really good runner for his size. But I don't know.
Prior to Hyrox, Hunter did not skip a short course. His claim was the greatest short course athlete on the planet. In every single one that mattered, including Stadium Series, when the big one, when they brought out that series, he showed up to the first one. He showed up to everything from the 1 mile short course in Killington in 2014 to TMX to stadiums. He was there if they called it a short course. So he would have been, no matter what he was thinking about when Spartan announced this, he would have been in on the 3K. What would he have done in Big Bear? What would he have done in Palmerton? What would he have done in Abu Dhabi?
Probably Big Bear.
Yeah, he
Palmerton
lives
probably not a great
pretty
course for
close.
him. Just
Whenever I think that,
size wise, but that barbed wire, that was a barbed wire course.
Still do
for
it.
sure.
Pretty big. He's pretty big, man.
Yeah.
Maybe he's higher on the list. I mean, he's 8 right now. Right at
And that's
directly ahead
only
of
due to
Sergey and
attrition because he
VJ.
hasn't raced for a while.
3 more years of national series and world championship performances.
But like where is he? Is he beating?
If Hunter wins a
Atkins
3K
in
world
any of
title, yeah,
maybe the 3K is good for 3K is definitely
sure.
good for him.
if a 3K existed like a few years before VJ really got into, I know that he won that 2014 short course, like I don't know, expo or demo event. You remember that one, Bracken, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like that's not really a world title. I'm sure he claims it.
He claims it.
Yeah.
Kent moves up on the list for sure because he's
Mm-hmm.
because he was doing well in that like super short beast kind of category
he became
anyway.
the stadium man.
Stadium's really strong at like a 3K would have been rock solid for him. And like maybe these OCR WC courses, but do you think these guys beat VJ in OCR
Probably not.
WC?
I don't know
Worlds.
because we haven't seen it, but maybe that year, that 2014 in Killington, it was Atkins, Cody, Hunter, Isaiah, myself, Yatsko, Glenn.
I have an email with
maybe Angel. Hunter waxed everyone.
Yeah.
That's a good course. That's a good field.
Where was that?
That was in Killington. After the Beast, 2 hours later. 3 hours and 59 minutes for me. Like it was a long, arduous course.
It was like later that day. It wasn't even the next day, right?
Yeah, a couple hours later.
That's disgusting.
And then he did it to people on Spartan Ultimate Challenge, except Atkins gave it to him there. But he crushed everyone else, and he was massive at that time.
Yeah, and on the women's side, you had Cassidy Watton, Claude Godbout, Tyann Clark, and April D. like at the top. So
all old school names.
But
my point is, every time he showed up to one, he's first or second.
Yeah,
and the guys he was beating, or in the one case where Atkins beat him, Atkins is still like the 3K guy as well. Not the guy that's VJ now, but Atkins was on the world championship podium. So,
I mean, like outside of those two, like anybody else in hybrid that we're seeing, like Rylan is still doing OCR with it. Like, does it change? Like, who else? Like, Riker,
only the people on our list
collecting more Sundays.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Those are the two on our list.
You know what Riker
lost
did?
Status recently because they haven't been racing OCR.
You want to know what Riker did? He texted me and he's like, my kids want to know where I rank all time on the Spartan podium list. So I think he's bragging to like a bunch of middle school kids about how good he is.
Oh, 100% he is.
Definitely.
Yeah.
That's not a thing.
My kids came home from school and they've got this new first year, like bro-y gym teacher who was like a linebacker at some state school or something. And they're like, he was showing off push-ups to our class and he was doing like clap push-ups and stuff. And then right as our teacher walked in, he's like, can you watch this? And he tried to clap in front and behind him. And he came down and cracked his chin into the ground. It was so loud. And our teacher's just like, oh my God, are you okay? He's like, yeah, I'm fine. And I thought, that's Riker. That's Riker.
Got stitches, can't show up to the next.
You guys
Deka.
ever seen this?
Have you guys, what's the most like embarrassing, all right, I probably shouldn't have been showing off type of thing that you've done?
Because I always execute, bro.
So I remember when I was in Hawaii like four years ago, I went to they had a hotel gym and I was curling and just doing overhead press and stuff because I was just using their gym, and I picked up like the 35, and then I heard this group of travel soccer kids and they were like, I wonder if you can lift the 50. So I just like curled the 50 and one of them was like, he just lifted the 50. And I was like, I guess that's what kids think is cool, but I didn't
curled
go
the 50.
over
It's
them.
pretty good.
Yeah. Hammer.
So what was then what, like you got hurt or you fell or what?
No, that was like I was just like, oh, I showed off to a bunch of middle schoolers. That was probably
Nice,
that's
dude.
the life.
That was not
success.
Cool.
That's how BK rolls.
Yeah. So I'm sure you've had those moments.
I jump from one of those moments to the next.
You just live those moments. Yeah. You were
Yeah,
actually you were actually in A-list class showing off your push-ups and you cracked your chin. Right.
He executed the front back. He did front back front.
Dang.
But yeah, I don't know. Like, does the health of OCR in a sport, is that better? I mean, Spartan is still gonna kill it, right? Like, I don't think Spartan's looking at Hyrox being like, well, we better not even try to compete now. They're just like, nah, we're gonna make money some other way.
No, and I guess I wasn't talking about the health of the sport. I was talking about the guys in Hyrox who have given up on OCR as a result. Would that have, if they were still in it, would they be factors right now? And how much of a factor?
Big time if the 3K in this multiverse.
100% agree with Rich.
I'd be out there too.
Because they were doing it beforehand. Like Kent and Hunter, absolutely. Imagine if Corinna like stuck with OCR instead of go. I know she went down her CrossFit path for a while, but if she decided to stick with OCR, that could have mixed things up on the women's side.
And now there's like access to ninja gyms, right? They're just like everywhere now.
Mm-hmm.
You can get better at OCR. Like back in the day, it was just kind of like muscling through, trying to figure it out. Like
everything at 90.
Everything's 90. You're like, Kent, like, I don't know if Kent could actually swing without 90.
And that was always Hunter's thing. Like if he loses to VJ, it's because he loses 5 seconds on every hanging obstacle.
Oh, for sure. That's what I mean. Like, I don't know if these guys beat VJ in these races because
I don't think VJ loses.
Like,
he might be the best 3K racer we've ever seen. Albon included.
Right. Like, they're not that much faster, if at all. Probably
That's
not.
the matchup I want. Albon VJ. And I know VJ wants it.
VJ, so I lifted with him a couple days ago. He wants everybody to be in Seattle at this 3K. He wants
Let's go.
Every single person who's been
3K?
good. Kirk DeWint, show up. Lars, come down from Alaska.
You say Bracken's name?
Head over. He mentioned everybody who's been.
He didn't say my name.
He said Bracken's name?
He might not. He might have said Bracken's name, like tell Bracken, but not like.
He's like, Bracken's gonna be talking about it on Race Brain.
Yeah.
Write that down. Write that down.
That's when he said Bracken's name.
Write that down.
But VJ wants
put that chip on your shoulder.
September, Seattle. He's like, I don't want an easy win. He's gonna win. So he doesn't want it easy.
There's a 3K on
the day before the Beast.
So it's Friday, Saturday. It's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday situation.
Or a Saturday. It's the 14th. I don't know what day of the week it is yet.
Could be nice still. Could not be raining.
Yep.
Let's go. We're going.
We got to hype that up throughout the year.
We're hyping. I think we talk about it every episode.
Yeah.
Let's
go.
If
it rains and is muddy in Seattle, he loses a big advantage.
I'm sitting out.
He can run in it as well as anyone can. But once the rigs get nasty enough, everyone's reduced down to not taking crazy chances, unless he's just that good and he can take crazy chances in the market.
I think that helps VJ. He's so short-handed. Yeah. Anyway, I have one
Hurts
more.
Me.
Oh, okay. You're up. Sorry.
No, I'm just saying how if it rains in Seattle, I'm gonna not participate.
Yeah. Rich is staying home.
Came down with a little touch of the flu. I'm out, guys.
I can't. Yeah. Can't be. I'll be there for the Beast or something. But
this is actually directed at both of you. 2-part question. Bracken, what if you started doing this type of racing in 2021 instead of 2011?
Ooh, I'd be a nobody. That's an easy answer. I'd be a face in the crowd.
Would we have this podcast? Would you have your other podcast?
No, absolutely not.
You'd be teaching this past decade.
What would he been doing until then? Up until this point, just balling, hooping.
So he does the Josiah method. He does really well at his first race, disappears, does whatever he wants, stays.
Which I tried to do.
Yeah.
I bought an Ironman training book, bought a bike, got a gym membership. I was going to try an Ironman. And Kobo called up. He's like, hey, we're putting this team together. Like, what does it mean? He's like, well, we got like flights and stuff. I'm like, I'm in.
And
yep.
Say no, say less.
Oh, you're saying I'm a pro athlete? Yep.
Yes,
it's already it's already on my LinkedIn. I'm in.
In my bio.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not delusional.
Do you go OCR or do you go directly hybrid?
That's a good question. Well, this is 2021, so yeah, it's each has had a chance.
They exist.
The real question is, would I have kept running?
That's what
this entire time.
You've got to get that basketball dunk combo. You don't think that you would have had the motivation on your own? You think that OCR is
how much running, Rich, would it take for you to break 5 in a mile one time per year?
20 miles a week?
Because that's how 20 miles a week for how many weeks before you'd get it?
Oh, if I did 20 miles a week, like all year.
I think you could do.
No, I mean, you could do that for 3 weeks and break 5. Think about high school track.
Coming from nothing?
8 weeks, 8 weeks of coach to sub 5.
Probably
specific training. Yeah.
I mean, when did you break 5 for the first time in life?
I think
15 years old.
yeah. I ran 206 as a freshman, so I probably could have, but I didn't
And what
run
did
the
you do
miles.
in between your last track race till the moment you ran that 5 flat? You probably did other sports and no running.
Yeah, I suppose. Did cross country.
Yeah, so I'd probably realistically I'd run with Lisa like 3 times a week.
Yeah, I guess so. I ran like 520 something in like 8th grade, just like gym
Right.
class.
It's not like flexing, but like I know I wouldn't be good in this day's era. Like I
But would
wouldn't
you have
be
done an Ironman? You might have
person.
done.
I wouldn't
maybe-
have continued with that. I don't know. I'm a competitor. I would have found something, but I can't say it was running the whole time.
You would have
OCR was
dominated that
so key for
basketball league.
teaching me to love running. I loved working out and competing, and OCR introduced me to trails, and trails made me love running.
That,
and then
that kept me running.
now I love it all.
Got it.
So, no, even if I had stayed fit and entered in 2021, look at the sport. Was I going to come in and be better than Batris, Veerman,
Woods?
yeah, I'm talking about the people who were at the national series level, not getting most of the podiums, but in the mix.
Oh, this past year or two?
2021.
Oh, okay. I
Jose-
thought you were talking about people who debuted after you.
No, enter that sport in 2021. I'm
Yeah.
outside the top 10 to begin with, and I progress up to maybe by 2022, like knocking on the door of top 10. I'm doing nothing OCR related because that's not. No,
Yeah, your
absolutely
OCR career could have been like mine.
Yeah, Rich, you did one race 2013, was it? And then just didn't do one for a few years and then came back after? Like, what was your story?
Yeah, I did one. I did a stadium in Philly. BK wasn't there.
Oh,
Unbelievable.
he knew you were coming.
I remember seeing.
Was that the year that like Matt Murphy and Alex Nicholas and
Alex
a few
won.
others?
I remember seeing him
Okay.
being like, "How in the world?" He's so big. He was wearing Brooks Pure Cadence because I was working for Brooks at the time. I was like, "Oh damn!"
Gotta remember those shoes from.
Gotta remember those shoes. I was like, "Oh okay." I didn't realize. I think I wore the Pure Flows that day.
You had box jumps right at the end that year, didn't you?
It was before the Z wall was Z, and I fell right off of the. And I was like, "Is that it?" And they're like, "Yeah, you got the burpees." I was like, ugh, and I missed the spear for sure.
Yeah.
Who else? Oh, Magita was there, and this is before they did call ups. I remember Magita just walking around like he was this big swinging dick, and was like pointing at people to come into the front corral. And I was like, "I'm here to win this race. Like I got to be in that corral." And it just wasn't. I was in the second heat.
You've never forgiven him.
No. And then there was like some magazine that
No
was
way.
at the CrossFit gym I was going to at the time. That was like a Mud Run magazine. Do we know what that what was that?
They had like Mud Adventure. Matt B. Davis used to have a magazine also. 2012,
Oh, really?
2013,
I don't know what it was, but Magita's photo was in there.
Magazine.
And I was like, "There's that douche. There's that douche from that race." I was like, "Oh, it must be actually good."
And that would be your response to date if you saw him in a magazine.
That's still the response. Every time I see his photo, there he is.
Even if it's not a magazine, just in person.
Yeah, every time I see him,
Hyrox start line.
I'm compelled to counter any argument he makes, like in any group chat or like any thread. I just see it and I'm like, I'm gonna argue him.
I know. I had to like get off of Instagram last night. He's talking about Nick Sirianni trying to tackle the freaking wide receivers.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, I'm out of here. And then I came back in 16 without like a ton of training. And I again, same kind of arrogance going into it. Like I'm winning this thing.
Did you stay fit during that time? Like running fit?
I was doing CrossFit. I wasn't
Okay.
running a ton.
So you really you buckled down during COVID to really become like that high level runner kind of.
Like, yeah, and then I kind of pushed a lot of chips more into OCR as like 18, 19 and like started to do more and more and more. But when it first came out,
leaderboard.
Got onto leaderboard, dude. Me, Kirk, Veerman, Forrest. There's some dude up here in
Ian Caskey,
young kid at Colorado State, whose name's
Penland.
Penland. That was a squad.
He's out doing special forces training right now.
Yeah,
nice.
He's planning on coming back to OCR.
Oh,
ultra distance.
Oh,
can we just take responsibility for jumpstarting the next gen of OCR and hybrid
right now?
Yeah,
or leaderboard.
That was leaderboard.
Yeah.
Leaderboard was it, man. It was good. I was doing switch grips, hand stuff. That's what I was doing
Grip
all day.
switches,
grip switches like this.
Take a lap. Little dog loop.
I don't remember what that was.
KDE was back then though.
Was that?
You didn't do KDE?
I don't know. What was that?
Oh my goodness. Never mind.
The Bigfoot. Bigfoot's a workout that I remember.
Bigfoot for sure.
I remember you guys posted some videos of the grind, and I was like, that sounds like the worst workout.
Never did that workout
I've
either.
ever
That'd be a
heard.
good one for me. That'd be a good one for me.
Ugh.
That's the one we did up with Killian versus Novakovic up in Alaska.
Who won?
They eventually tied.
Killing
Tied.
I thought that Matt was like going 31 seconds for the rest, 32. Like
Matt was fudging
barely.
the numbers, but
Yeah.
Matt put on a mental performance like I've never seen.
Yeah.
He started hurting and then he just started trash talking and he started staring at Killian during reps and he
Yeah.
just got in his and Killian started to like get into it. And after a
Pump it
while, they
up,
just
yeah.
like, looked at each other like, all right, we're going to both stop at the next round.
Was he saying anything back, or he was just like stewing in it?
Sitting in it.
Wow.
Because I remember watching that and I was like, I just watched people for like an hour and a half on a treadmill run at 6% at 50 or 6.0 at 15% and do burpees every 30 seconds. Like,
We've watched worse.
I agree.
We've
but
since
I
watched worse.
I questioned myself after that one. I was like, this is a bad one.
What about you, Jack? What are you doing? What would you have done without OCR in the early days?
Yeah. So I got really big into ultimate frisbee in grad school. And
So you would have broken your kneecap doing that.
No way. No, I
Or
was
your
good.
ACL.
I won an intramural title at A&M. But I
Holler.
was like Isaac Sanderson. He's into ultimate frisbee before he did this. But I was actually anti-Spartan for like 4 or 5 years. I did my first OCR at Texas A&M in the fall of 2011. And I lived in Texas when they had that first world championship, and I wanted to do it, but I didn't have the money. So I could have potentially met Bracken Crocker that year.
You wouldn't have.
Wouldn't have.
Nope.
I
It was
ran
raining all weekend. I sat in my car, dry heaving
yeah.
every time I tried
Yeah.
to eat my pre-race meal. Then we raced, and then I DNF'd and walked off, got in the car and drove back to the house. You wouldn't have met me.
Spoke to no one.
Yeah. I ran a.
I was pre-hypothermic. I was sitting here.
Yeah.
No.
I ran a 1:20:44 or something like that half marathon that fall. So I wasn't in terrible shape at the time. So yeah, who knows? I probably would have got embarrassed because I'd never really run technical muddy trails or anything like that. I didn't own trail shoes at the point, but I actually did look it up, and I have like old DMs where I was messaging Hunter and Isaiah in 2012, like, hey, I'm a bigger athlete. Like, what type of advice do you have about, you know, I don't want to be like some skinny runner like I was in college, because I finally started weightlifting and stuff. So like I was paying attention to who the guys were, but I didn't do my first Spartan until 2015, and I failed 4 obstacles and got like 60th place or something.
Where was it?
Austin, because I was still living in Houston at the time.
Super.
Yes, it was terrible. And I went out and I was in like second or third place. I was like on Isaiah's tail for the first 2 miles. Him and David Tate and Michael Mark. I think
David
the 4 of us
Tate.
were there.
There's
Yeah,
a throwback.
blast from the past.
You have a little like faux hawk thing.
Old Wonder Kid, or yeah, just he was like VJ's age in the 16, 17 years old and still podiuming back then. But yeah, I basically, you know, failed Z-wall. I failed the plate drag because it got stuck, and I was like, this will not move. And I tried for like 5 minutes, and they're like burpees. I'm like, oh, that was great. And then I did burpees on the rope climb and the spirit. I did 120 burpees, I think, that day, and got beat by Alex Walker and several others. But I had done Tough Mudders and Warrior Dash. I won a couple Warrior Dashes in Texas in 2014. I was at the World Championship that you were at, Bracken. I lost to you head to head in Alpha Warrior, but I wish in hindsight that I did Spartan. I didn't have like the anti-Spartan mentality the first few years, because it would.
Was it just because of the cost?
I think so,
that was a barrier for me for sure. I didn't like that it was expensive and that I had to pay extra to get into another heat. I was like, this is bullshit.
Yeah.
I found a Groupon for my first one.
Nice.
That was way back in the day.
I did a Groupon for my first Tough Mudder, and I remember posting. It was my profile picture for like a year on Facebook. Me running through the shock wires or whatever,
electroshock therapy.
Yeah, and that was summer 2012. So like I've been around for a while. I just wasn't there in the early stages, but it would have been very interesting. But yeah, if I had to,
when did you and Big A meet?
Big A? Oh, Audrey?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, 2014.
So did she meet you?
Okay,
when your profile was a Tough Mudder picture?
Good question.
She doesn't use social media, but this is actually kind of funny that you mentioned.
Answers
this.
yes.
So I convinced her like a month into us dating, and one of our coworkers, Courtney, just moved she went to Ole Miss, and she didn't know anybody in Texas, and she was I was like, hey, Audrey, you want to go to this race? And we were very early into dating. She's like, yeah, my friend Courtney's looking to, do something. She played volleyball at Ole Miss and stuff. She's like, she wants to do something fun. Could she go? And so both of them ended up showing up. And I remember driving there from Houston, and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to win this thing. And they're like, no one ever wins this. There's no possible way. And so I'm out running in the usual, you're out in the woods for 10 minutes before you see anybody or longer. And they just happen to like try to find a vantage point. I'm like, go wait on this side of the course. And there was this one other girl who was just against the fence, and they started talking, and they're like, oh, are you racing? And she's like, no, my boyfriend thinks I'm going to win. And it was this guy, Seth, who lived in Texas. And then Audrey's like, so you're telling me multiple people think they're going to win? No one actually wins. And we came out of the woods side by side with like 200 meters till the finish line, both of us. And they were like, oh my God, they're like, they're actually going to win. And then so they were like cheering against each other. And then I lost my shoe in the mud.
Oh.
And I got second place. Yeah.
Busted that ass.
Oh, yeah. Rich, what was your profile pic when you met Amy?
What was 17? We're talking IG, probably. I don't know. I did have a Funky Monkey one.
Funky Monkey one. There you go.
But I think that was after we had met. I don't remember when we first met.
You were personal training at the time, so it's probably something fitness related.
Probably something without a shirt, I would imagine. I mean, BK, you and Lisa have been together before freaking social media existed, I think.
Facebook was on, man. Facebook was on.
I remember that. I was a freshman in college when that shit came out.
My profile pic almost turned her off.
I've got some of the old like running through there. It's hard to see with the glare.
You look as pasty as pasty as ever. As my eyes see now.
No, me, Audrey, and Courtney right there, just at the Warrior Dash.
Set that.
What I had my head photoshopped onto Ronnie Coleman's body.
Dude, that's hilarious.
That was
like
my
that?
Facebook profile picture.
She didn't think that was funny?
This guy's a douchebag.
You're like, lightweight, baby. That's hilarious. That's great.
That really is great. Yeah.
All right. We did it, man. We're crushing these. We're crushing these episodes with nothing to talk about, and we're talking about stuff. So.
I think this is a good topic.
Good idea, Jack. This was your idea. We'll give this to you. It went through pretty.
This is what happens when I'm back on the show. No shoes or minimal shoe talk. And
minimal shoe talk, because we got to talk about only shoes you know about are minimal shoes.
That's bomb. Yeah,
it's a Jack joke, baby.
That was fantastic. Yeah,
closing out the hour. BK, what you got on TRP?
We have a coming up tomorrow. We have a guest who I'm excited about. Just won an ultra, big time ultra, but I don't announce guests ahead of time because when I do, they don't show up.
They're going to cancel.
And he's a big time runner, so he probably will be too cool for school anyway. Okay. And just on Tuesday, we did an topic of kind of like what we had talked about, stringing together B- to B+ workouts. Stringing them together.
Consistency is key,
especially in the off season, early season base building, staying in touch with intensity, but on a reduced capacity, but keeping the frequency up.
Just get it done.
I like it. RMR training podcast, just me and Kent this weekend. Meg was out doing some seminar stuff in California. So me and Kent, we just talked about how cold it is here. That's basically, we talked about how cold it is for an hour.
Does he hate cold?
No, he's fine.
No, Ken likes cold.
Yeah? He's fine with it.
Yeah, I've gone on a bunch of runs in the winter with him. Rich.
Anything that's like a mental edge for him, he likes to take. He's like, dude, we just
these snowflakes aren't cold. Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, man, that fucking sucked.
Rich, I listened to your episode where Kent said that the longest he's at, and Meg, the longest they've been on a rower is like 3K ever. They don't crazy.
I know. He focuses a lot more on power. I've done
an hour plus like for cross training, and it's not that bad, honestly. I'm kind of on your side.
Once you're on the rower, once your butt gets used to it, you're all right.
Yeah.
And I've sat on the rower. Oh, we have a challenge on the RMR app.
Oh, that looks awesome.
20 minutes max cals on the ski, 10 minutes max cals on the assault bike, 20 minutes max cals on the row.
10 on the assault bike.
10. What'd I say? 20?
20, 10, 20, and then 5.
20, 10, 20, then 5 minutes max wall balls.
To the 10 and 9 foot, depending on gender?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just pro weight.
Woo.
It's a good one. So we tried to get Ken to do that. He's like, "That's too long in the row." I'm like, "You're being a little bitch."
Yeah, he doesn't
That's a
wanna
Dylan
lose.
Scott workout right there.
Dylan
Oh my God.
got 11:25, and he's gonna retest it.
He's gonna retest it. His ass cheated. He flipped it the row and the ski because he knows
wrong order.
I want to do this. It gives him.
Yeah, got to keep those
Wasn't working.
triceps up. Yeah.
But yeah, I got 10:44 and he was like 11 something. I was like, oh my God.
I was
He's
thinking
monster on the
1,000.
ergs.
I'd probably average 157 plus or minus a couple seconds on that, and then it's just hang on for dear life on those wall balls.
What'd you do on the bikes? On the bike, you two?
I've done 1,000 calories in 54.5 minutes before. I averaged,
but in this
68
10
RPM.
minutes,
Average 70, 68.
I was like 72s, I think. I was like 151s on the
high
ergs.
after the erg.
It's a completely different thing. I mean, I thought it was gonna be worse. I honestly thought it was gonna be worse.
Just get real bad on the wall balls.
The wall balls it was not a great set of wall balls, but it was like on the rowers where it really started to kind of suffer. Like my butt started to feel like it was on fire 5 minutes in, and then it never got worse, but it just had to sit in this terrible discomfort.
What'd you hold on the ergs?
151s.
Really?
Mm.
For 20? Okay.
Yeah.
I can't do that.
You should try. All right, that'll do it for us today. Thanks for checking us out, as always, listening all the way to the end. If you are listening, you are a real one, and we appreciate you so much. These episodes are coming out on Tuesday now, if you haven't noticed. We're trying to get them out midday on YouTube and on podcast, wherever you listen. So just know we're out on Tuesdays.
He's trying to cut into our Training Tuesday numbers. That's all he's trying to do.
That's all. I'm gonna see if that works. Tuesday. All right. See ya.